Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the State Transportation Commission. My name is Heath Salisbury. I'm the chair of the commission. At this time, we'll go through roll call. Amy?
Good morning, everyone. Chair Salisbury.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Bukowski.
Here.
Commissioner Paracchio.
Here.
Commissioner Schultz. Commissioner Turner. Mr. Chair, that concludes the roll call. Based on the number of members we have present, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Our first agenda item is the director's report.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see you all this morning. Just a couple of very quick items. One, I am ecstatic to announce to the commission that the Gordie Howe International Bridge connecting Detroit and Windsor is open for traffic as of Monday morning, which it's been a really great partnership between the folks in Michigan and our partners and friends and cousins across the river in Windsor. So fantastic news. The other piece, just to mention quickly, the governor signed our 2027 budget. It's largely a continuation budget from last year, but it does fully fund the Neighborhood Roads Fund that was enacted last year as well. If you remember, most of that it started in January, so it was about 3/4 of a year of funding. That money continues to roll in this year, and we continue to distribute that to all the different entities. But this will be our first full year of the Neighborhood Roads Fund, so we're really looking forward to that. A couple other minor highlights. We got about another $25 million for maintenance, which is a big deal. Most of that is economic increases. A few other local bus operating initiatives, as well as $10 million for maritime. Now, that is one-time funding. We do see maritime as a very important part of our transportation system, and we'll continue to advocate for long-term sustainable funding for maritime. And that's my report.
Thanks, Brad. We definitely want to highlight that to be a great thing for the state of Michigan is opening that bridge. That was a definite highlight. That's something that's going to be in the books for history, and we want to highlight that. So thank you for that. So upon review of the March 12th commission meeting minutes, are there any corrections? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded. And we're going to do that. Hold on.
Yep. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries.
Okay. We will now move to Office of Commission Audits update.
Good morning, everyone. OCA has been performing business as usual since my last update several months ago. Last time I summarized the nature of approximately 1,000 products issued by OCA every year. This time I'm going to speak about audits performed by outside agencies and about the nature and importance of internal control to meeting the needs and expectations of Michigan's taxpayers. A few years ago, I and my staff put together a level of guidance as it relates to audit findings that various government auditors might generate. We provided separate documents to discuss the elements of auditors' findings, including the condition, the effect, the criteria, the cause, and their actual recommendation. We noted that it's possible for MDOT to agree with some of the aspects of the findings, such as the criteria, which would be the law, the procedure, the policy, the regulation, such as the criteria or the recommendation. But they might not necessarily agree with detailed examples within the finding or with the alleged effect that the auditors say might or could or did happen. For example, MDOT might agree that a condition statement that said that MDOT failed to document certain administrative efforts, but MDOT should probably disagree with the resulting effect statement that says that as a result, that somehow or another that form that wasn't filled out decreased the safety of the traveling public. So sometimes the outside auditors might overreach on what they say could go wrong. So it's good to disagree in those cases, unless of course there actually is a direct link to safety. So MDOT needs to know the elements or aspects of findings so that MDOT can have a tangible frame of reference for discussing the contents of the findings with the auditors. And by discussing, I mean negotiating, perhaps. MDOT staff might feel that something just isn't quite right with the finding, but it might not have the words to describe their feelings. So hopefully the guidance that we share on, through discussions and on OCA's intranet website helps the affected MDOT staff contribute to the proper audit finding perspectives. What I shared with MDOT is the language of auditors, and it can only help if auditors and MDOT stay on the same page when communicating. So shifting gears a little bit here, as part of the overall goal of helping MDOT improve its managerial tools, my office has for years provided guidance regarding what's called the Council of Sponsoring Organizations, or COSO, frameworks for internal control. The federal government refers to these same concepts as the Green Book, which the last I knew MDOT is required to follow by the state. Basically, internal control is what management is supposed to be about. At the highest levels, someone develops a vision or a mission, and at all levels, like executives, managers, and the teams, they develop their goals and objectives. So internal control exists to ensure that objectives are met. So if essentially all objectives are consistently met, management is doing its job. Objectives could be whether a program is effective, efficient, or equitable. Objectives could pertain to whether the agency complies with its contracts, grants, laws, rules, regulations, procedures, policies, and specifications, compliance stuff. They could pertain to perceptions as to whether employees feel valued and empowered and fulfilled, or whatever taxpayers feel like they want to make sure they're heard. Objectives basically are everywhere. And as objectives are everywhere, appropriate, cost-effective internal control should be everywhere as well. The elements of internal control start with developing an appropriate tone at the top. What's the governor's tone? What's the commission's tone? What's the director's tone? What are the chief's tones? Hopefully all the tones are, basically from the same song, and hopefully everybody in the organization is humming the same tune. The next internal control element is a bit more tangible. Considering each specific objective, everyone associated with the topic should be empowered to chime in on what could go wrong. This is called a risk assessment. After a list of risks is developed, management needs to determine which risks are most likely and the most impactful. Those likely and impactful risks require somebody to design a cost-effective internal control that helps prevent the risk. If properly designed, the control needs to be effectively implemented. Is it a detailed procedure, perhaps? A reconciliation, photographic evidence, assigned approval by the right person? All kinds of different controls are out there. So circling back, an important aspect of internal control design is the need to be cost effective. Does it make sense to implement a control that costs $200,000 if it saves MDOT $40,000? Does it make sense to implement a control over testing of asphalt that costs a few $1 million to help ensure the effectiveness of hundreds of millions of dollars in asphalt costs? That's the cost-effective aspect. So management and workers need to have an effective system of communicating information. What does management expect and why? And do staff know this? And what do staff see day to day? Does management know this? The constant flow of information and communication in each direction helps everyone measure the pulse of whether the objectives are being met. Written procedures, explanations, and reports are a few of these information and communication examples. And as a critical final element of internal control, management's job is to determine whether the internal controls have been effectively implemented. This is called monitoring. For example, it does no good to have a well-designed, cost-effective control that somebody puts on a shelf or ignores because it's more work than they feel it's warranted. How would anybody know that the control was put on a shelf if management did not spot check or ensure that the control is implemented? Writing a procedure does not guarantee that it's going to be followed. And just to let you know that recent OAG, Office of Auditor General reports are starting to focus in on whether or not other departments and MDOT are actually monitoring what's going on. They've moved into that realm. So circling back to the original topic, this internal control discussion has not been focused on avoiding findings. Avoiding audit findings is the side benefit from effectively implementing well-designed, cost-effective controls. The real benefit from embracing these internal control concepts is that managers now have the steps that are logical and relate to objectives, regardless of where the manager resides in the department. The unfortunate part about internal control is that it is work. And to do it right, it takes time, it takes energy, and as with most changes of direction, there's the inertia of rest, and it is hard sometimes to implement well-designed, cost-effective controls. So thank you for the opportunity to share today, and I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Any commissioners have any questions? All right, thanks, Jack. Appreciate that. Up next, we have the Oversight and Informations Report, the quarter report, bids letting summary by Patrick McCarthy.
Good morning, thank you. The first document in your packet that I'm presenting is on pages 8 through 45 for the second quarter and pages 46 through 82 for the third quarter, titled Quarterly Bid Letting Summary. And this documents all the items MDOT let for quarters 2 and quarters 3 of fiscal year 2026, so January through June of this calendar year. In quarter 2, MDOT let 145 projects, and in quarter 3, MDOT let 135 projects. The second document in your packet is on pages 84 through 86 for quarter 2 and 89 through 91 for quarter 3, titled Bid Letting Items for fiscal year 24 through 26 for that same second and third quarter. This documents the various trends in the bid letting process, including the number of projects that were let, the number of single bidders, and the number of all bid rejected, as well as payments made to contractors for fiscal year 24 through 26 in quarters 2 and 3. And then the third document in your packet on pages 87 and 88 for the second quarter and pages 91 and 92 for the third quarter, titled Michigan Department of Transportation Procurement Card Fiscal Year 2026, Quarter 2 and Quarter 3. This report documents the number of procurement card transactions and the total amount paid against procurement cards for the second and third quarter of 2026, as well as identifies procurement card transactions that are currently being monitored. Do you have any questions with any of these documents? Yes, sir.
Chair, yeah, I do. With the indulgence of the chair. I think it's a typo, Patrick, that the chart on page 87 is the same as on page 92. In other words, they're both third quarter charts, so you just might want to
Okay, let me take a look.
fix that.
I will take a look at that and fix that if that is incorrect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I don't think so. Thank you,
Okay.
Patrick.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. So up next, we have the quarterly bid justification summary. Dee Parker.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'd like to draw your attention. I'm going to break it down in second quarter, then third quarter, but I would like to draw your attention to pages 95 through 130, titled The Quarterly Bid Justifications for the second quarter of fiscal year 2026. Within those pages, you'll see 2026 fiscal year program graphs dating back to October of 2025 through March 2026. You will also see scattered charts and graphs showing where bids fell within the target range of plus or minus or 10%. You will also see at the towards the end there, justification, rejection reports, and memos for the second quarter. Again, that's January 2026 through March 2026. Also, I'd like to draw your attention to pages 131 through pages 183. Similarly, you will see it's the fiscal year. In this case, it is the fiscal year, third quarter there of 2026. From October 2025 through June of 2026, you'll see our program graphs. Likewise, you'll also see scattered charts. As well as you will also see justification, rejection reports, and memos for the third quarter. Again, the third quarter being April 2026 through June of 2026. Again, we're talking pages of 95 through pages 183 in regards to the quarterly bid justifications for the second and third quarter of fiscal year 2026. A lot of good information there, so what questions or concerns do you have regarding those pages?
So I had a couple, D.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what page. I had some typo stuff going on here. I think it's on page 97.
Okay.
There was, the percentage is a little bit high on those. I know we've grouped those, got those wrangled in pretty well in the last year on overages and stuff. Now, the 80% over and the 115% over, what were those? What was the reasons for those? Do you have an idea?
I have to try and pull it up first, Commissioner.
Sorry.
Sorry. What I can do, Commissioner, I can get back with you on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's really to help
They
you
were
out on that.
smaller from what I've seen,
Okay.
some smaller projects. And then I had another question on where we're on it. And it may be because the maintenance and traffic, I believe that's on page 140, shows those percentages are pretty high on those graphs. Is that probably in relative to the maintenance and traffic on those projects? Is that why they were a little higher than the engineer's estimate?
It could be. Again, we're speculating, but it
Okay.
definitely could be relating to those
Okay.
regarding that. So, but we can definitely look that up and get you a definite answer, a confirmed answer in regards to that.
That'd be great.
Get
Thanks.
that to you.
Anybody else have any questions? And I want to compliment the department for bringing those bid lettings back into a really nice tight group. So in the last year or so, that's been really well. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So is that all you have, Dee?
For that, yes.
Okay. Real estate?
Yes, for real estate. For your information, I would like to draw your attention to page 184, titled Commission Summary, Real Estate Services Section, Disposal of Real Property Interests. You'll see a list of about 4 excess properties that are either being relinquished or sold. Again, this is FYI. For your information, I have it on page 184 for me.
Yeah, mine are,
Oh.
they're kind of overstamped. They stamped on top of them. So
Okay,
I think that everybody's dealing with that same problem.
okay.
Oh, it's after all that?
Yes, towards the end, before Exhibit B, and
Yep.
any comments, questions, or concerns regards to the,
The 1 foot easement there, I noticed that one, there was a 1 foot easement for the rail. Was that identified prior to that and they were just working through that and then sold that piece? Okay,
yes,
okay.
yes.
So I looked at that and I was like, wow, that's a small piece of property.
It's a
for-
small piece of property,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
So,
Anybody else? Right, well, yeah,
It's
for a
rare.
foot long strip of property there, it seemed like it was pretty valued well, so, okay, is that all you have? Does anybody else have any questions for Dee? Okay. Is that all? Thank you, Dee.
yes.
And then, next up is the final construction contracts by Jason Cutting.
Good morning, Commission. I'm going to present the data on Exhibit B. There's a little bit more data because it's obviously 6 months since we canceled the spring meeting. So for MDOT projects for this exhibit, January through June of '26, we had 122 projects totaling approximately 801 million being finalized. 17 projects were more than 10% over the original contract amount, and 63 projects came in under the original contract value. The final monthly contract costs for those 6 months were under negative 1.25, positive 2.52, positive 1.86, positive 15, positive 1.5, and the last month we were right on the money with it being 0. So we closed them out at the exact relative cost to the original bid. The calendar year for '26 is averaging 8.7 over the original contract amount. Those were the MDOT projects. The local agency projects for January through June of the same year. 206 projects totaling approximately 239 million were finalized. 14 projects were more than 10% over the original contract amount, and 126 projects came in under their original contract value. There are 12 projects in the exhibit for MDOT, and there are 14 local agency projects being presented. And I can address any questions the commission has.
So, Jason, to keep those projects in line with engineer's estimate, right? We've identified some in the past, and the department's been doing a very good job at identifying that, Brad and the team. And obviously we can see that with the graphs that are presented to the board. So with that, we've identified some projects in the past that may have been up a little higher, and we'd like to take and have the department look into that a little bit further, which I already understand you guys are from our
Yes.
prior talks. And then possibly in the future, report back to the board on some actions potentially in the future that we could do to make sure those things don't happen again. These are years ago. And then maybe we can look at some policies from the commission as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions? Thank you, Jason.
you.
Appreciate that. Today we have quite a few presentations for the July meeting. We will now proceed with these presentations. Greg, you're up first. I was like, is he presenting for you? I was like, he's not here. Amy's got me messed up again.
It's always Amy.
Right, it's Amy's fault, so.
All right. Well, good morning, commissioners, and thanks for having me here today to talk about work zone safety in Michigan, something I'm very passionate about. Just a couple of topics I want to talk about. First is kind of where we're at and some of the things we're doing with work zone safety and mobility, and also talk a little bit about smart work zones on where we're headed in the future for the safety of our folks. But before I get started, was hoping we could take a quick.
Click on the presentation button there. You know.
Oh. Let me start over. Is it going? Oh, there we go. Now we're ready. Again, that's MDOT kind of has developed a culture with work zone safety. On Wednesday, you may see some of us around wearing orange. Some days more than others, you might see a lot of us wearing orange together, such as yesterday. But again, work zone safety is something very important that we do. Why isn't this going? All right, I got to hit enter. So again, I want to talk about work zone safety and mobility, some of the initiatives we're currently working on right now to make things safer, and then kind of where we're headed with work zones. But before we dive into that, I did want to take a moment of silence. As you may or may not know, we lost 2 employees back in May in a work zone related crash where they were struck by a reckless driver in one of our work zones down in the Lansing area. So if we could just take a moment of silence for Bruce Wagner and Steve Spenley. Okay, thank you. And again, our goal as a department is that everybody gets home to their family, friends, and loved ones at the end of every day. So it was a rough day for us, but kind of we need to keep looking forward on how we can improve things going forward. And one of the things that I do in all my presentations, if you haven't seen me present before, is kind of look at how we're doing overall in terms of work zone crashes, or actually all the crashes, fatal crashes out there as we work towards 0 deaths on Michigan roadways. So what this chart does is actually looks at a few different key measures of work zones to see kind of how we did last year, how we're doing this year. So as you can see overall with the total fatalities on our roadways, we are down from last year, but so far to date, that's been almost 500 people in Michigan have lost their lives. On average in Michigan, it's about 1,000 people a year die in work zone related crashes, which is horrible. Unfortunately, it's not talked a lot about on the news or other types of things, but again, we need to kind of keep an eye on all of these things. But as you can see, there are 2 where the crash types where the fatalities have gone up this year. One was wrong way driving. You've probably seen in Metro Detroit and Grand Rapids, there's been some horrific crashes where people get on the freeway going the wrong way. And the other one that we're talking about today is work zones as well, where we're up a couple from where we were at this point last year. So again, this is kind of an awareness piece, but also to motivate us going forward that we need to keep looking at what we can do to keep roads safe. So first, I want to talk about some of the things that we are doing. When we start talking about work zone safety in Michigan, we've taken a hard look at a lot of the things we can control in terms of our signing sequences out there. The barrels that we put through our construction zones with high intensity sheeting so they're more visible. And we continue to learn as we go. One of the things we have seen though is with signs, people don't always pay attention to them. And, we've been having success on a couple of projects where we've actually reduced the number of signs on that project. So it's a lot to go through because traffic engineering is very different than standard engineering, where I can design a bridge to hold 1,000,000 pounds and it'll work 100% of the time. Unfortunately, when you look at traffic engineering, I can design a road perfectly, but I can't guarantee nobody's going to die on that road, unfortunately. So that's what makes things tough. But that's why, as a department, we've adopted the safe systems approach. And what that does is actually looks at 5 key areas, and it looks at safe road users, safe vehicles, safe speeds, safe roads, and post-crash care. So what this kind of, in a nutshell, what we've always done is try to stop crashes from happening. This is a slightly different approach where unfortunately, we know people make mistakes. Crashes are going to happen. So what can we do to minimize the impacts of those crashes when they do happen? So by looking at each of these, there's not a silver bullet. It's all these 5 pieces of the pie kind of working together to make an impact overall. So that's kind of where we're headed as a department, tied to work zones and other safety initiatives. But a big part of that comes down to safety and outreach and education, which I talked previously on that Towards Zero Death slide. We just need to raise awareness too on the number of deaths that are happening in Michigan, how we can prevent those. And again, part of that is that we don't call them accidents, they're crashes. Over 90%, actually 95% of those crashes are caused by the driver. So that's at the core, that's what happens. It's not an accident. It's a crash. So we're working to educate folks on that. We're doing a lot of things such as Work Zone Awareness Week, where we have worked with industry partners to kind of kick that off. It's a big media event just to make people aware that when they're driving through our work zones, to keep an eye on things, put down your phones, put down everything else, and move forward. Another big initiative we're looking at is mental health as well, which previously hasn't been talked about in the construction industry, but does have huge impacts. The construction industry, it's the second leading cause of death. So that's something we're focused on right now. I know when I send our folks out every day, I want to make sure their heads are clear, they can pay attention to traffic and stay safe while they're out there. So those are some of the things we're doing from a safety standpoint. We've been heavily involved in work zone legislation, such as the concrete barrier law, looking at positive protection for folks that are out there. A new one that's currently underway is work zone training and with driver education. Work zone safety cameras, which is another initiative underway, and the additional fines and work zones. So those are some of the things we've been part of. But when you start looking at other things we can do in a work zone, like I talked about before, we've really focused on things we can control with barrels, signs, those types of things. How do we get drivers' attention though? Because they aren't always paying attention to the roadway. I stand out there a lot. I see people on their phones, speeding, eating soup, drinking coffee, doing whatever else, talking to their friend. So how can we do that? So one of the things we've started doing in our work zones is installing temporary rumble strips on the way in. Every construction project on a freeway that's there 14 days has these leading into it. So again, it's the grab people's attention as they're driving down the roadway, get their head up, let them know that there's folks ahead working. One of the other things we've looked at is temporary speed radar trailers. So it gives these "your speed is" signs. Again, these have shown to be very effective. We're using them on freeway projects. They're extremely effective early on. Some people get a little complacent with them after the fact. So we keep moving those around so that people pay attention. The next one that we have invested in, actually 2 of these, it's a mobile barrier trailer. What this is, and it's kind of hard to see from these photos looking at them right here, but this is a trailer behind one of our semis. And what this does is gives positive protection for our folks that are working. So as you can see in the top photo, these are a bridge crew out replacing a joint. You can see that mobile barrier wall next to them on the right, that big yellow thing. And on the bottom picture, you can kind of see how it's set up, where it's behind a trailer behind the semi. You can see another semi speeding by them while they're out there working, but gives our folks a lot of peace of mind. They don't have to pay attention to traffic and just keeps them safe while they're out there. So this is one of the other things we're looking at for our folks. I know some of the contractors are looking at that as well. Another is queue detection systems. We've had some horrific crashes where traffic backs up in a queue, cars stop, and then unfortunately a commercial vehicle semi doesn't stop. We lost a coworker last year because of that. So what we're looking at is these types of message boards where there's actually sensors out there. They identify when traffic has stopped, and they go to message boards a mile or so in advance saying traffic queue ahead, slow down, just to, again, raise that awareness, try to get inside get people's attention. We're starting to use these AFADs, they're called, automated flagger assistance device. These replace the folks out there with the paddle standing in the roadway. As you can imagine, standing in a roadway holding a paddle telling people to stop or slow down is not safe. Quite a few folks have been hit doing that. So this is automated technology where they are able to stand off on the shoulder or down in the ditch to keep an eye on things, again, to keep them safe while they're out there maintaining traffic on those types of lane closures. The next thing I want to talk about is smart work zones. So lots of the things I've talked about so far are things we're doing outside of the vehicle. And when you start talking about vehicles, just in the last 5 or 7 years, what we've been seeing a lot is that people have become very reliant on their in-vehicle navigation systems and other types of things. They go where Waze tells them to go. You know, whether that's cutting through local roads, going down subdivision streets to get somewhere faster, or even we've had to close roads because of floods. People drove around the barricades, they drove into flooded water. And when our maintenance folks go talk to them, they say, "What are you doing here?" They said, "Well, Waze told me to go this way." So again, unfortunately, people are kind of becoming mindless to driving when they're relying on these systems. So we're looking at how can we interact with the vehicles to actually get inside of those moving forward. So what we have done is worked with a lot of automotive manufacturers out there, OEMs, to develop a language we can all agree on. Unfortunately, automobile manufacturers, they're very private in terms of what they do, but we worked with them, the Society of Automotive Engineers, ITE, the Institute of Transportation Engineers, as well as Federal Highway Administration, to develop a common language, which is called the Work Zone Data Exchange, where we can send info into that, and then all vehicles can receive that info and potentially use it for in-vehicle navigation alerts, those types of things going forward. So that's something we are just getting started with. Right now, we only have connected aero boards. So every work zone connected aero board you see out there is transmitting data that can be picked up by the Work Zone Data Exchange, again, to show there's a work zone out there. One of the other things we're piloting is worker presence connected vests. So there's a little puck they install in their construction vests. Same type of thing where vehicles can actually identify that there's a person out there working in the roadway where they're at. So that shows up. Again, there's not one answer when we talked about the safe systems approach to keep people safe. So we're looking at all these layers of safety that we can incorporate going forward. We've worked with the Federal Motor Carrier Association to get grants. So we actually have 2 work zone grants that we're working on right now. Safe Zone and Pause are what they are. One is more aimed at permanent work zones, well, ones that are out there for extended duration, and the other one's for short-term maintenance type work zones. What those do is actually send in-vehicle alerts to commercial vehicles as they're approaching those to let them know something's going on ahead. And kind of the one that I'm really excited about is one we're piloting with a company called Haas Alerts out of Detroit. What we did is installed 100 of their transponders in different MDOT fleet around the state. So what happens with these transponders is once our folks flip on the bubble lights on the top, it sends an alert to Waze, Google, Apple Maps, all Stellantis vehicles, all Volkswagen vehicles, to note there's a work zone ahead. I know in Stellantis and Volkswagen, they get an alert in the car. Other ones, it shows up as a work zone in Waze instead of relying on crowdsourced data. So again, this is one of the things we're piloting at right now, looking at which vehicles should have that in, but trying to balance that without sending too many alerts to folks in the work zone. So again, these are just some of the things we're working on, but again, we're taking a multi-tiered approach to safety in Michigan. And with that, I can take any questions you have.
Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Greg, I know we've been working and trying to focus on speed and work zones for many years. So we found the temporary rumble strips, which I think are an awesome, inexpensive thing to use in every construction work zone. Have the rumble strips, speed trailers, have we seen any statistical data that shows public is actually slowing down?
As far as comparison data, we haven't done an exact study on that to identify. I can say they slowed down 10% of the time, but our folks out there said they are seeing those impacts, or at least getting their heads up from the phones or whatever else they're looking at.
Is there any perception from MDOT employees or contract employees that drivers are actually slowing down in work zones?
Yeah. Not necessarily. It's been since the pandemic, we've seen speeds increase kind of across the board. But again, we're pushing these different types of initiatives to get them slowed down, as well as working with state police. You know, the most effective thing we see in our work zones is when we can have work zone enforcement out there. So we're working with state police on that, but knowing they have limited resources as well. But now that's why we're also looking at this automated work zone safety enforcement.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, John.
Greg, thank you for that presentation, and particularly the chance to honor our fallen Michigan DOT employees. Very, very important. With respect to what you just mentioned, would it be useful, and I guess I'm directing this question to my fellow commissioners and the chair, would it be useful for the commission to resolve that we should have automated enforcement in work zones? And I'm particularly looking at the fact we're going to have a new governor, a new legislature in the fall. And it is an opportunity for the commission to highlight a critically important policy decision that has to be made by the governor and the legislature.
I think first, right, maybe we could just get some studies from some of the other states, Brad, would you agree? And then see how those things have helped and what those costs are to the projects and stuff so we can make a decision. And maybe move
Certainly.
forward with some stuff.
Certainly. No, I think that's great. And as you mentioned, it would take legislation to be able to use these more widespread. What we have right now does kind of limit us in some cases, but I think the department would be appreciative of support.
I think we need to be a little bit careful so we're prescribing and requiring technical things on all projects. I mean, we have to be selective. I mean, just to say we should have automation in every work zone
Right.
probably is not the right way to go.
That's a very good point. When I think of whatever countermeasures that we're using to address a problem, each of those is a tool, and it needs to be the right tool for the right job. Use a screwdriver when you need a screwdriver and not a hammer. So, good point.
And I think an example of that, right? I know that work zone safety is important to you guys and for everybody in the room that's been out on a work zone and worked there, myself included. And the group that I represent on my daytime job, the operators, I mean, we helped push barrier wall bill with some of the other associations and stuff. And that's utilized for night work, right? So we're talking about some specific situations for those type of devices to be utilized. So to John's point, maybe some information on that we could look at in the future and
Definitely.
and talk about with legislators and all of us collectively get together with the new administration coming in. And then compliments to our current administration for working with the department on bringing in that barrier wall bill to protect those workers and the things that you guys are doing right now. So compliments to you and your team, Brad. So is that all you, does anybody else have any questions?
I want to amplify what he just said. I'm really enthused to see all of these new programs and things that you're looking into. Always want Michigan to be on the cutting edge of all of this stuff. So excellent job.
That's my goal.
Yeah.
To be leaders.
And I just don't know if anybody noticed in the slideshow there, Greg's dedication in his orange suit at the safety conference. I witnessed that there. So that is his dedication. We appreciate that. I don't know if Brad made him do that. I don't think so. I think that was on his own accord. So thank you, Greg, for that.
He did that all by himself.
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay. So up next, we have public transit presentation by Jean from the Otsego County Transit Director. Sorry. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't usually say nice things.
That's okay.
OPT. Yep. I'm more afraid of it, but it's not showing up.
While we're waiting for that to come up, I'll introduce myself. Luckily met all of you last night, but Jean Rustman, I'm the administrator of the Office of Passenger Transportation at MDOT. And as mentioned, I've asked Tim Cherwinski, who's the director of the local public transit agency here in Otsego County, to speak after me to give you perspective of local transit and kind of paint you a picture of what that looks like. We're on one side and we partner with the locals, but it's good for you to understand the local perspective on transit. Okay, and I thought I'd stretch it enough, but that doesn't look like a bus. I'm just saying. There, those look like buses. Okay, thank you. All right, so I first want to talk to you about the primary functions of the Office of Passenger Transportation, or OPT, as we're known. We interact with public transportation and shared mobility. So it's more than just buses. As you may have noticed in that first picture, it's local transit. We have specialized services, which are like human service agencies, marine passenger. So we have ferry systems that we support, public ferry systems that we support for islands, mostly right now in the northern part of our state. Intercity bus programs. We have rideshare support that we provide, and van pooling, Michivan. If any of you have seen the Michivans driving around, we help support those. We receive and distribute state and federal funds, so that the federal funds that we distribute are on behalf of the rural transit agencies. Urban agencies like DDOT, SMART, Capital Area, and Lansing, they receive federal funds direct, but we provide matching funds for those per the terms of Act 51. We oversee our subrecipient expenditure of funds. We make sure they're following all the rules. We're responsive to federal mandates. So when new federal rules come down, we make sure we understand them, understand the impact of them, comment on them if we're given the opportunity. We partner with our local transit agencies, like Tim, but also local stakeholders, so advocacy groups, associations. And this has kind of been new since I've been in this role. I should probably back up. I've been with MDOT almost 36 years now, all within this office. Have been in this role for 8 years. 8 years, a couple weeks from now will be exactly 8 years. And when I came into this role, it was very important to me that we take advantage of the innovation and technology that was just emerging at that time, a few years before that. And so we have taken on that role to be kind of the risk takers, if you will, calculated risk, to help advance the industry, because there's so much available out there in new technology, innovative service models and such. So just an overview of our transit customers. We do have 79 public transit agencies spread across the state. Those are urban and rural, different types of service. They have fixed route, demand response, microtransit. Rides to Wellness is a program we didn't list here, but some of you may see that in your community, which is more tailored to people trying to get to medical appointments or the pharmacy, or just even to get fresh groceries, right? And so it's services that transit agencies put out there that are more tailored. And if you will, it's a little more like Uber and Lyft, only it's affordable. So people who cannot afford that luxury have a way to get to those appointments and just get themselves groceries. That can be a challenge. We do have 4 ferry boat operations, as I mentioned, to Beaver Island, Drummond, Sugar, and Nebish Islands, off-season service that we help subsidize to Mackinac Island, and then an Ironton Ferry up in Charlevoix. We also have over 100 specialized service providers. So we either provide that funding directly or through our public transit agencies, and then they pass it on to those small community providers and human service agencies, again, to meet the special needs that people have out there. We also oversee an intercity bus program. We have 5 private sector carriers in Michigan. We do not subsidize all of them, but we help ensure coordination. Right now, we subsidize 2 of the carriers. One is Indian Trails, and they're our preferred, if you will, carrier on the 96 corridor, and Greyhound is on the 94 corridor. We help offset the cost of buses for them. As you know, right? When you're a peninsula, people don't pass through your state accidentally. So we have to help encourage those carriers to provide services in Michigan. The northern part of our state was actually abandoned by the private industry, simply could not make a financial go of it. We did not want to leave everybody in the northern part of our state abandoned and not able to connect to the national network. So we actually bid out for 5 routes in northern Michigan. We use federal and state money to help subsidize the operations and the capital needs for those routes. And that includes supporting intercity bus facilities. We have a goal of making sure that all passengers have a safe place to wait for their bus, because sometimes it's a long wait in inclement weather. So we feel it's important to help subsidize. A lot of those are in partnership with public transit agencies. The stops are at their facilities. Some are standalone. We do own 4 intercity bus facilities. Some were historical, some were simply in places that it just made the most sense financially for us to own and operate those systems. We do that in conjunction with the intercity bus carriers. We also have a role with private bus carriers that many people don't know. We are responsible for administering Public Act 432, the Motor Bus Transportation Act. That is a vehicle safety. It is not a driver safety, it is a vehicle safety law. And we have 3 heavy-duty mechanics that go around the state doing safety inspections on all private charter buses that are over 9 passengers. We also have to ensure that they have the required level of insurance and that they are properly registered with us. So please do not ever get on a party bus unless you first look and see if it has a little MDOT sticker on the window. We also have a list online. So if you're going to order one, this is an industry where people come and go a lot and they think, oh, this is going to be a quick, easy buck. And they buy a junky bus and put it into service. Please don't get on those. Call me if you're not sure. I want to go back to that. We also promote a culture of safety. When I don't know, probably 20 years ago, this program came under my purview, and I noticed that we were focused on catching people doing bad things. And I asked us to change that culture, and instead we try to help them do the right thing. So we do offer training. We've provided videos online to show them how to, what things are we going to inspect and how should they look at those safety elements of their vehicles. So that shift has made a huge difference. We have far fewer findings. We have people who call us before they buy a bus and say, will you help us take a look at this bus, or tell me what I should think of before I buy this bus. So that's made a big difference in the safety of the charter carriers. We have several programs. I'm not going to go over all of these in detail, but this is to show you that our budget in Act 51 is very much prescribed. It's rolled out, if you will, instead of rolled up. So we get line item appropriations for these and have rules that we have to follow for each of these programs. Local bus operating is our largest program. And I'll talk to you a little bit right now about that. It's a formula program where that one pot of money is shared by all the qualified public transit agencies in the state. And it's expense-based, and the larger urbans can get up to 50%, the rurals and the smaller urbans can get up to 60% per the law. In reality, this year that amount is 29% and 34%, well below the maximum. Actions of one agency impact all agencies, and that's important to know. People sometimes question whether we should be expense-based on that or some other factors. And trust me, in my almost 36 years, we have run every possible formula and considered every possible factor, and it always comes back to about the same amount as an expense-based formula because it covers very little of their budget. So they have to put local funds in. They're doing their best to make sure they are as efficient as humanly possible. So because it impacts their local dollars. Transit capital is our next largest pot of money. We are mandated by Act 51 to match federal funds. So we're mandated to match at least 2/3. Luckily, we've been able to match. Typically, federal funds are an 80-20 match for capital. And so we've been fortunate enough to be able to match all those and do some projects at 100% capital when there are no federal funds available for things, especially replacing buses when they've met their useful life, to ensure we have safe options for people to take in public transit. Mentioned marine passenger, intercity bus, specialized service, rideshare, the Michivan program. Michivan is primarily funded with CMAQ funds, congestion mitigation air quality funds, for the areas that have emission problems. We'll just call it that. They have bad air quality. We do have some state funds in this to help with the van pools in the other areas of the state. This is a great service for people getting to jobs, especially, and to school. So people use this a lot. We've had to pivot when the pandemic hit, right? People went to working from home. So we pivoted this program a bit to allow that flexibility. If you only work in an office 2 or 3 days a week, you can still take advantage of Michigan. So it's been a really successful program. As you know, the people who take it couldn't keep their jobs, many of them, if they didn't have this program. Service initiatives is one you'll see in the budget. We've are shifting a little bit how we fund that, but it's still a very important program to us. It helps fund planning studies or match planning studies. And it also lets us do some of those, what I call when we share the risk, those innovative projects that we need to support more fully. A local agency would have a problem funding it themselves. If it fails, which sometimes technology does, it proves to not be the best solution for them. This lets them do that and learn the lessons and help us share those lessons across the state. And so this pot of money has been really important to us. I'll show you a few of the projects later that we funded with it. But we're shifting a little in the way it looks in our budget, but rest assured, we are still very committed to the types of projects that this funds. And then was mentioned the Neighborhood Roads Fund. The Infrastructure Program Authority Fund is a transit-specific part of the Neighborhood Road Fund, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. Right now, I'll talk more about it. So the part that comes to transit is $100 million for transit and rail for the first 5 years. That money goes down after the first 5 years. It goes down slightly. Up to $35 million goes directly into the CTF. So that becomes part of our overall budget. Up to $65 million is for the program called Infrastructure Project Authority Fund. Of course, we call it IPAF at MDOT because we love our acronyms. It's focused on transformational projects. It's meant to improve or enhance regional mobility, and regional can be within the same county, it can be between cities, or it can be multiple counties. So regional means different things based on what's currently available. It's also, one of the goals is to provide new statewide connectivity. One thing I need to mention with this fund, the way the law is written, MDOT cannot directly spend any of this money. So we can only distribute it to our subrecipients, who are basically the ones that are eligible for that local bus operating pot of money. So intercity bus that we contract out directly, we can't use it for that. Rail service, that is, MDOT spends the money to contract for services, so it can't be spent on that. And those private providers are not eligible to receive this money directly. So in the first call for projects we issued in May, they were due a few weeks ago. We had, I think it was actually 34. Now they see this. I think we actually had 34 applicants. A few of those were just asking us to review their project. They weren't really shovel ready, and that was one of the requirements, that these be shovel ready projects. They weren't really ready for that, but they wanted us to take a look at what their vision was and see if we felt it fit and if we could give them any tips. So we will be doing that for those projects. There have been 2 projects that have withdrawn since then. One, unfortunately, was a city who has been working for years to become a countywide system. And at the very last minute, after the application was submitted, the County Board of Commissioners decided they would not support the project anymore. They rescinded their support for it, which was incredibly disappointing. That's all I'll say on it. It was incredibly disappointing for the citizens of that county. So we have 29 applications that we will be scoring. That scoring, I think, is starting today, actually. We assigned it to 3 different people for each of the applications. So we have 3 scores for each. A dozen or so of my staff are involved in scoring, and then our steering team that we had put together between my Michigan Infrastructure Office, MEDC / Leo, and myself, and Peter Annister from Office of Rail. So our plan is to have those completely scored and project October. Be announcing who has been selected, but they won't actually get their projects, the funding for their projects, until that's been collected and transferred into that account where we can spend it. So hopefully that will be early FY27, maybe mid, who knows? We'll just be ready to get things moving as soon as the funds are available. This just gives you a quick overview of what our budget looks like and what it looked like, in 26 compared to 27. We received an increase in revenues, as we talked about. But I do want to point out the local bus operating, because at first glance, you'll say, wow, went from 271 to 305. That's a huge increase. It's about a 12% increase, which is almost exactly the level of increase in local transit spending because of the cost of living, the fuel prices, price of goods, price of workforce. So that keeps them basically at the same reimbursement rates they received this year, which were the lowest rates as long as I've worked there, right? It's a very low, and it's hard for the agencies even to maintain the current level of service that's out there. So we are really at a danger point, in my opinion, because of lack of funding for this program and for all transit programs. As you'll see, some of the money goes up and down a little bit. We fund based on what the demand is that year. So for intercity bus services, we fund some of the buses, replacement buses. They're not all due every year, right? And so that money goes up and down based on that. Van pooling, it's based on what's our experience. We always look at how much are we spending, is it being effective, and we'll adjust that amount based on those metrics. So I just want to talk about a few of the big projects that we're working on. One is a statewide transit plan. Why now? Now because we feel it's a really great time to do it. We have a lot of support and a lot of interest in public transit, and a better understanding that it's not just MDOT and not just the local public transit agencies even. We have a lot of other state departments who are understanding that they need to be coordinating with us. And John and I sit on the transit action team for the Council on Future Mobility and Electrification. That's been a huge source of coordination with DHHS and Leo and the Veterans Affairs. We just had the Housing Commission come in and speak to us. And so now that we've got all their interest, we have a transit caucus in the legislature, which I never thought would happen. First in history, a bipartisan transit caucus. So now is the right time to get moving with this. Our scope of the plan is to look at where exactly is public transit and where isn't it? Where are those gaps? How can we coordinate with other modes, including rail and intercity bus? And what are some solutions for filling the gaps, whether it's mobility management, new services, innovation, technology? This plan will drive our future initiatives and our spending. It will help us focus in on where we should be putting our dollars and our efforts. So the plan is to issue the RFP late summer, early fall. Unfortunately, this is happening in the midst of us converting to a whole new management system, which is what we use to manage and communicate with all our local transit agencies. That's been a huge undertaking with tons and tons of data needing to be converted. That's put us a little behind schedule, but we are just in the process of standing up a new unit within our office for transit planning and major projects. And so that will help move this along. I still think the RFP will go out probably more like late fall. We're also doing a supplementary study, an intercity bus plan. We knew we could get that stood up quicker and that would feed into this. So we're doing that as a standalone. That is already the bids, the RFP is out for that. Should be selecting a vendor soon to do that intercity bus to look at, is the way we're managing intercity bus the most effective? Could we be looking at some of those northern routes differently? I think we could. So that will help drive that program and then feed into this overall statewide transit plan. Another major project is the Michigan Central Multimodal Facility that is on the Michigan Central campus in Detroit. It is, for our office, it is replacing our Howard Street station, which is the historic Greyhound, which people know as the Greyhound station. It's not really owned by Greyhound, it's owned by us. And we manage it. So we call it the Howard Street station. That building is falling down. We are having to put a lot of money into it just to keep it safe. And so we were, 17 years ago or so, we started this endeavor to build a new facility in Detroit. We were able to partner with the Office of Rail. They needed, I won't go through the whole history, but the original site, they needed upgraded. We decided it would be great to share that space. The city decided they didn't want that combined service there. Now we're focused on Michigan Central, and that would be the location where Amtrak service to Canada, international service, would be restored. So that is in active talks to get that done. So this new facility would be multimodal and would actually be a transit hub. We hope to have accommodations there for local transit, for micro mobility, charging infrastructure for transit, someplace that people can go to catch all the other services that they would want to get around the city and around the state. So we have an MOU with all interested parties. DTC, who is better known as the People Mover, right? They're the ones who run the People Mover. Our money is passing through them. We have a federal grant and some state funds, and the city just actually received a grant, a $3 million grant that they will be putting towards this facility. So things are coming into place. We're working through the NEPA process, which is not an easy process, but it's been a great coordination between MDOT and all these other entities. So more to come on that. And this one, I'm not going to spend really time on. I just want you to know that we're working on a lot of transit technology related projects. Some are completed, some are in the midst, but it's a wide range of things that we're looking at to helping the agencies have data that's discoverable by apps. So when you are trying to look for your transit options in northern Michigan, you don't just see a driving route, but you'll actually see if there's public transit available, if those apps actually ingest this data that we're basically handing to them on a silver platter. We are still involved in automated vehicles and trying to test out how large automated vehicles can help public transit. And we've worked with the Bureau of Planning to develop an economic benefit analysis tool that has a specific transit portion of it that would not only help MDOT measure economic impact of public transit, but help local agencies tell their story about their economic impact when they're trying to pass a millage or convince a board that countywide service would be really important. So if you have any questions about anything you see here, feel free to ask. Unfortunately, I have to zip out as soon as Tim's done speaking to get to a bus rodeo and judge how well the bus drivers drive their buses. And that is all I have for you. I can take questions from you right now and then invite Tim up.
Gene, I had a question. So do any of the groups that are being subsidized, are they analyzed yearly for that?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So
And
they apply, they submit, so I can tell you kind of the cycle. They submit applications every year that include a budget.
Okay.
and all their capital needs. We review all of those before we provide any funding. And then the operating assistants, they submit quarterly reports that include general ledgers so we can verify. They're also audited, and their audits are reviewed by our office so that we redistribute funds based on their audited expenses. So we know that we're only paying on eligible audited expenses in the end.
Could one of those companies, or have they in the past grown out of that where they don't need to be subsidized at
No.
all? Okay.
Public transit is not, and I don't think will ever be a good business model, right? It's not a profit. It's not a profitable industry.
Okay.
The majority of people, and I know there's a lot of talk in the legislature and such on, what should local share be and who should bear the burden. The vast majority of people using public transit cannot afford to pay their fair share, if you will, right? And they can't afford, a lot of them can't afford to own a car even, right? So putting that burden on them to pay their share of the cost
Right.
would make it so they simply couldn't take it, and they would no longer be able to get to their jobs, get to medical appointments. Tim will talk to you a little bit about what their key ridership is, and that's, is indicative too of the intercity bus, right? Where the private industry tried for years and said, we cannot afford it. It's not a moneymaker. The people who need this service can't afford to pay the high cost that would make the subsidy not needed.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
Anybody
welcome.
else have any questions?
Good report, Gene. I'm curious on the ridership numbers. Have we seen ridership numbers in all modes increasing? And what's their perspective on satisfaction with the services provided?
Yeah, so the satisfaction is usually measured at the local levels, and those local agencies have reported to us that the satisfaction is generally high. For some of the urban areas, it's very different, the route services, right? If your bus is a couple minutes late, you're dissatisfied, right? So I think the urban agencies who track theirs a little more personally, some of them, DDOT, for instance, had some really bad low satisfaction numbers. They are now taking some serious actions, especially under the new mayor, to improve their customer satisfaction levels. And they've already seen a bump in those satisfaction levels. Ridership has gone, so obviously the pandemic tanked a lot of ridership. For some agencies, that has not only restored fully, but has grown beyond pre-pandemic. For some, they're still struggling. If they were very work heavy on like people with 9-to-5 jobs, many of those don't go in the office. And so they've shifted, and their numbers are coming up more slowly, but they are definitely going back up, if not to the level, very close to the level of pre-pandemic.
So Gene, thank you very, very much for being late to the bus rodeo to give an excellent presentation. And I apologize for repeating myself from last night, but there's some things that I want on the record why this is so important. The truth is, in Michigan, we're getting poorer as an economy. We're now the 40th state in the union for per capita GDP. And for some people, the only way out of poverty is using public transportation. Mm-hmm. And that's why this is absolutely so important. Gene, you touched on, some of the economic benefits, but if we look at, sort of real numbers, in the city of Detroit, I happen to know approximately 100,000 people do not have a driver's license, even though they qualify for one. And the reason is very, very simple. They cannot afford to purchase a new or used vehicle. The average price of a new vehicle right now is north of $50,000. We have the third highest auto insurance rates in the United States, even after we adopted so-called insurance reform, and the insurance companies assured us that if you just take away unlimited medical expense, our rates would drop. Well, they haven't. They've gone up. And so the flip side of this is I am firmly of a belief that public transportation is not just for lower income people. It's for everyone. And a lot of people, especially younger folks who we'd love to, talented younger folks that we'd love to have in our state, they don't want to drive. And public transportation becomes the only other option. I think most of us who've lived in Michigan for a while believe that the level of service for both rural and urban public transportation is not what it ought to be. And at the end of the day, it boils down to stable and increasing funding for public transportation. So thank you, Gene. I'll shut up now. And I look forward to your presentation on the rural perspective. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else? Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Gene.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Tim Sherwinski here with the Otsego County Bus System. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. I appreciate that. Just going to begin by going over a few statistics here of certain things. As Gene spoke, we are a rural transit agency. Demand response, we cover roughly 526 square miles here in Otsego County. All right. All with a 16 bus fleet. 13 total drivers is what we have. Passengers, we haul roughly right now 43,000 per year. That is drastically down from pre-COVID numbers. It's only about 2/3. We hauled roughly 60,000, 64,000 pre-COVID. At any given week right now, we're missing rides that we can't facilitate for people, between 25 and 35 rides a week that we're missing. All right. Our ridership is a majority, 74% of our ridership actually consists of senior citizens and or persons with disabilities. They go to different areas, reasoning for the rides, doctor's appointments, prescriptions is probably the highest. Shopping and work. We do haul some back and forth to work. Now, I've actually been with, to back up a little bit, I've been with the Otsego County Bus System since 2016, so just over 10 years now. In that time, the federal funding has never changed at 18% reimbursement. And the state funding has changed quite a bit, saying roughly 30 to 36%. It's been as low as 28% and as high as 36% reimbursement rate. And them are pre-COVID, without COVID included in that. COVID gave us a little extra reimbursement rate. Some things as far as creating efficiencies at the local agency, since I've been there, we used to be running all diesels before 2017. 2017 come and we switched over to gas, just trying to save on the maintenance of it. As far as concerns, some concerns that I've heard not only from myself, but other transit agencies up here in the tip of the mitt. We hear about local tax dollars, the property taxes being taken away and so forth. We run about a $1.5 million budget on an annual basis. 750,000, roughly half, is consisted of local tax dollars. And the question we're running into, or a concern that we have, is where, if these local tax dollars get taken away, how are we going to come up with the additional money, the funding? As it is now, we wouldn't be able to operate without the state and the federal assistance that we operate with. And we certainly appreciate what you guys are able to help with. So.
I can add a little bit to that. Hold on. Oh, my, sorry. Do we have it? I have to go over there? Okay, I should have just stayed, sorry, because I always have to add things. To add on to what Tim said about the property taxes, if those go away, and sometimes people are, not wanting to pass those millages, that is the only option for taxation that the local agencies have. Other than RTA of Southeast Michigan, the only dedicated transit funding can come from millages. So where other states offer local sales tax options or registration fees, in Michigan, only property taxes. So that is one barrier to choice for how the locals want to support those services. So just wanted to point that out for you. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, please. So do riders pay a fare?
Yes.
Okay.
Most riders, in most places, riders do pay a fare. They try to keep it as an affordable fare. So I don't know what your fare system is. There's also a requirement that seniors and people with disabilities have half fares during non-peak hours. But
So what has been the fare practice, like say in Otsego County? I mean, your fares doubled as your expenses are going up, and you said your federal and state support stayed consistent. So if your costs go up, are fares going up with it?
We've had fares adjusted one time back in 2017, actually 10 months after I became the director over there. And that was simply because we weren't in compliance with the state regulations as far as our fares go. Since then, our fares have not increased at all. Our fare structure is senior citizen and or persons with disabilities are $2 one way. Students are $3 and a regular fare is $4 one direction.
so the local agencies set their fare policy based on how much money they need to come up with, but also they kind of know that tipping point of you always lose some riders when you increase your fares. So then you're just having a neutral impact. Sometimes that ridership comes back and it goes up, but it's a really risky thing to do as people's disposable income is going down, to then raise the fares for those people who we know their wages aren't going up drastically.
So you're right, Gina. It sounds like public transit is a pretty bad business model.
It is a bad business model, but it's a great public service.
Right. So just, a brief follow-up. To my knowledge, there is no transit system in the world that is profitable, with the possible exception of the Tokyo subway system. And that's only because they got so many people running through that system every single day. It is public transportation is a key function of government. And that's, to your question, a private sector, they can play at the edges. And they do here in Michigan and in other states. But in terms of that reliable, regular service, it's a function of government.
The other thing I wanted to mention is you may have noticed that when Tim said the number of vehicles they have compared to the number of drivers they have more vehicles than drivers. Workforce is a huge burden. Getting qualified drivers and that will stay. So wages have had to go up to even attract drivers. And many agencies are switching to smaller vehicles so that the drivers don't have to have CDLs, because getting a CDL driver is very, very challenging.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you both. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Okay, next up, we have the TAMC Annual Roads and Bridge Report from Art Green.
Won't mess it up.
Appreciate that.
Looks like we lost the TV. Okay. Does it keep kicking out?
Thank you, guys. Good morning. Thanks for having us here today. Art Green from the Transportation Asset Management Council, a day job, Grand Rapids TSC, Transportation Service Center Manager at MDOT. Thanks for everybody. I'm going to go over a few highlights from the report published earlier this year. You all should have a copy of that at your seat. If you don't, or if anyone else would like to have a copy, I do a few extra here to give out. Pretty interesting book, and we'll go through some highlights right now. So kind of the who, this is the membership here. I'm here today presenting on behalf of the chair, Ryan Buck. And we're going over a few different aspects here. I think we're pretty much full except for one for one position that we're still waiting to kind of fill. But otherwise, we'll have a pretty well full board again after a few turnover positions this past year. So kind of the why we exist. It's not on the slide, but Public Act 499 of 2002 created the need for an asset management council in the state of Michigan. A couple of our tenants here I've got listed. Largest of which is reporting to legislature, and of course this body here today on performance of our road and bridges system. Primarily, we're adding more assets to that every year. Culvert is becoming a big one that we're adding. As well as maybe dabbling in some more signals work as time goes on as an organization. So another big part of this too is promoting the education, providing some tools for locals, as well as the department to keep learning and growing, and of course collaborating with our WAMC partners, all under the umbrella of the MIC. A little bit about how we do that. How we do that is the budget we have. A couple years ago, we received I think about a $200,000 increase into that budget. Frankly, our MPOs and RPAs, as well as the department, do a whole lot with that money. You can see the breakdown there. Our council runs very, very efficiently with primarily focusing on engagement efforts in a conference annually, as well as funding some of our resource and research partners we have with Michigan Tech and a few other ancillary things. But very, very efficient process here that gets a lot done, as you'll see with some more highlights coming up. So here's a few things from that report. If you break that open or go online and look at the whole history, I had a chance to look through some of that last night online, and the reporting goes back to 2011 online. So you can kind of see some of the change in hairstyles, as well as some of the changes into the data itself. There. So here's a couple things. So the fifth year in a row here of a trend toward positive movement in good road condition increasing. So that's a good thing for our pavements, statewide. Last year we picked up, probably a record of almost 65,000 lane miles of our non-federal aid roadway system, which is a big thing because, primarily our funding is going to that federal aid system overall. So we were able to coordinate and get a lot more information, to really populate, more robustly the statewide database on all roads. So pretty consistently, we've got right around 1,000 new or returning folks to learn about the process, learn about the tools that are available, and then the reporting, of course, that goes along with it, with our different training and webinars. Our forecasts here, moving forward, is at the state level. Improving local bridge condition is going to be, on a positive trend, mostly due to the new budget changes that have been, promulgated in 26 and now 27 we heard about today. And to note too, maybe not on necessarily a, really robust thing, but an important thing is to identify this is data for us to manage and look at. So 67 bridges were closed in 2025 due to poor condition. Another little over 1,000 on the local agency side of bridges are posted having weight limits. A lot more data in that report and a lot more research, but the information we provide isn't always necessarily happy news, but important news because we need to do more work and we need to take care of what our assets as a state are going to provide for access to all of our people. So federal aid system. Out of the 88,000 lane miles that we have, we've collected quite a bit of that in 2024. This is the new donut chart that we have that shows that condition. I did a little bit of looking back. Last night I was doing this from 2015, so basically representing 10 years of data. We've increased our, or I should say, we've decreased our poor pavements. So we're doing really good by 10%. So relatively speaking, about every 5 years since 10 years ago, we've made a 5% increase as a state by knowing the information, the data, the quality of our system, and making improvements, and how we're going about managing the system and making the decisions that we are to improve the system with the available resources that we all have. Here's a little bit of a forecast. This is kind of a standard thing that we've had over the years through all of our reports that kind of looks at where we are today, where we've been, and a little bit about where we're going. Good news for the good pavements is we still have that tendency of actually improving our good pavements. And stays pretty static. So we're not seeing huge swings, with improvement or decrease in poor pavements, but we're certainly holding our own here with the forecasted, new revenue and how that may work. So non-federal aid network, a little bit of a different donut chart there, though there are, significant growths, from 2015 and 2020. Across there, not necessarily the 10% improvement in the reduction of poor pavements, but we're certainly seeing the needle moving in the right direction overall, from at least 10 years ago. Bridge condition. A little bit of a different story when you look at history. This is where we are currently for local road agency and MDOT. If you were to look back 10 years, the slices of severe and poor on the local system primarily, as well as MDOT's marginally, are different. We had a less percentage of poor and severe bridges 10 years ago than we do today, which means we have inflationary things that happen with dollars, and we have more challenges, and I'll talk about those challenges in a minute, trying to cover all of the different structures we have statewide. So here's a little bit about some forecasting. The chart on the right really reflects, the $50 million in local bridge that's spent. It puts us on this, relatively speaking, downward trajectory. That's where we are spending today. With the new funding, just suggested here in 26 and 27, you see this yellow line, this 150 million that will pick us up a little bit, but then you still see us falling a little bit, off. And the top chart, of course, is if we increased over 5 years that funding to that level, 265 million, we might have a chance at meeting, some of those goals that we have as an organization. These couple of charts are pretty cool to me. It kind of shows, right where I live at the TSC, how many roads are impacting, how many orange barrels are out there for us to experience on an annual basis. You see that number. for those folks that want to do a little bit of math with me here, 33% of the network gets touched in 5 years, right? So if we do a little bit of quick math, how long is it going to take to touch our whole network from a road condition standpoint? So 15 years it takes us to get back to that same segment of pavement or road with the current funding and a current, I guess, state of the art that we are at with doing our asset management approach and being as efficient, as effective as we can. That's 15 years. So we're doing, I think, a pretty good job with what we have, but I think a good talking point there is you know, on the average, whether you're on a freeway or on a local road or something in between, you're probably not going to see orange barrels to improve the potholes as often as you might want. Bridge condition, a little bit of a different story. Percentage is a little bit lower. Bridges have a longer asset life. And we're, of course, and they do cost more money to maintain, operate, and replace. So you see those percentages, the number of bridges throughout the state they're at. And again, we still do that same math problem, right? Okay, so 20% we can touch in 5 years. We do the math there and we say, wow, it's 25 years before we get to touch a bridge again. And then we might see work, you know, of substance on another bridge structure. Most of our bridges, even on the local system, are designed for 50 to 75 years. So some of that makes sense. But when you look at maintenance schedules and you look at, you know, how that ought to work in a corridor planning model, 25 years is a long time to expect, you know, maintenance and operations to maintain a bridge. So I think that might be some of the reason you see our critical and severe bridges moving in the direction that we don't want when you look at the overall data. So a couple updates as far as the organization itself, new support staff and Tim Lemon in the manager position of the asset section. Brian Sonata will be taking over as our coordinator for the TAMC board. Local agencies can now, with their IRT reporting, so that's an investment reporting tool that all the local agencies report on and then provide for us to roll up and it gives you this report every year, but they're now going to be asked and we'll be able to support production and tracking of their goals. So we can kind of put those goals together, balance them out, and really see where we're going from a goals perspective of what each agency is actually shooting for. And we can, you know, try to slice and dice some of that data in the coming years and maybe look at, you know, where everyone's goals might be. And then MTU is going to keep going on a little bit of a technology and an enhancement of how we do this data pickup. You know, most of this stuff is done by humans sitting in a vehicle, but we can introduce some ideas about using AI and using some other things that we have at our disposal from technology and research. MTU is going to help us understand that a little bit better, ask some more unique and valuable questions, some of which you'll find in the report there, about what things the TAMC can invest in and maybe make this a little bit easier to collect, and maybe we can get more data, and maybe we can move beyond and get a full network of culvert data and a full network of other assets that we can move towards as technology helps us to do better. A little bit of a precursor to the conference that's coming up, a combination with the Transportation Asset Management Council and the MIC to provide this integrated infrastructure conference that's coming up in September. So please tell everyone, if you're really interested in asset management tools, discussion, where we're going next, where we want to be, make some time and attend the conference. And with that, thank you. And if there's any questions, I can try to take those now.
Thank you, Art. Appreciate it. So just to be mindful for the next two presenters, Mrs. Brown needs to excuse herself probably in the next 15 minutes. So we have two other presentations and we have a vote that we need to get through. So just those presenters are mindful of that. So anybody else have any questions for Art? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So next up, we have the draft 2027 through 2031 5-year transportation program for Michael Case.
Morning, commissioners. Let me get this set up here.
Yes.
Yep. That's not it.
Okay, Michael, keep in mind. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, time is ticking. Thank you.
If I might, let me correct, that's Ms. Brown.
Oh, sorry.
Just saying.
I apologize.
Good correction. Okay, thank you for the support. So again, good morning, Chair, Commissioners, everyone. MDOT Bureau of Transportation Planning is pleased to present to you the annual 5-year transportation program covering fiscal years 2027 through 2031. As you mentioned, Mr. Chair, and as noted in your agenda, this is an action item, and we'll be requesting your approval to post the document online in open public comment starting tomorrow, July 31st, and ending August 31st. So just a really, really brief reminder, the 5-year program document is a snapshot in time. So on where MDOT is with the trunk line highway, public transportation, and aeronautics revenue and investments. It fulfills the requirement of Public Act 22 of 2025 to deliver a rolling 5-year listing of highway construction projects to the legislature before March 1st of each year, and provides the public with an opportunity to review and comment on the program and highway projects listed over the next 5 years. So the draft program over this next cycle totals $19.4 billion. So highways account for most of that investment at $13.7 billion. Also included here are anticipated investments from new and consolidated funding sources. We covered a little bit already about the Neighborhood Roads Fund. So nearly $1.4 billion of that is included in the highway program right now in the orange slice. You'll see in the passenger transportation programs, so the ones that Gene covered, but also including the rail, freight, and passenger programs. NRF is contributing an additional $278 million to those. She mentioned the Intermodal Capital Fund, as well as the Intermodal Projects Authority Fund, which are included in that slice. So the first year of the program, we're estimating a $3.8 billion investment. This covers highways, so $2.6 billion in trunk line roads and bridges. We've got $396 approximately million in local transit and intercity bus, $230.3 million in passenger and freight rail, $245.45 million in aeronautics. And we see that flexible funding at almost $331 million. That's those NRF transfers and the Intermodal Passenger Fund. So the next 5 years of the highway program, again, $13.7 billion. We see the majority of that in the repair and rebuild roads program at roughly $4.6 billion, with just under $1 billion in 2027. Next in line, we've got trunk line modernization at just under $762 million total, with $107 million in 2027. Just a little bit there. That is primarily the modernization of I-94, but there's also construction activity in the Blue Water Bridge Plaza included in that number as well. Repairing and rebuilding bridges, over $2.3 billion over the next 5 years, with $435 million in 2027. Routine maintenance, which starting in 2027 is set through the governor's executive recommendation. So that was, as you learned today, recently signed by the governor. So that starts with $530 million in 2027. That number has a growth rate applied to it over time. So we're looking at $2.8 billion over the next 5 years. $1.2 billion in system safety management and operations, with $165 million in 2027. Those are things like intelligent transportation systems and operational improvements across the system. Roadside facilities, we've got $75 million over the next 5 years, with $19 million in 2027. So rest area renewals, roadside building repairs, utility modernizations, also supporting the road and bridge network. And then the additional state and federally funded programs, that's a bit of an umbrella category. So $629 million over the next 5 years, with $119 million in 2027. Under that, we have things like transportation alternatives, recreational trails, and the carbon reduction program. Last, again, we have this separated out here The Neighborhood Roads Fund, we're looking at $1.3 billion over the next 5 years, with $191 million starting in 2027. This is separate due to still a bit of uncertainty around the Neighborhood Roads Fund in the future. We also have not made those specific allocations from that funding source yet into the Highway Capital Program. But we want to make sure that we're reflecting it here as something that we intend to invest 100% one for one as the revenues come into the program. So this is over the next 5 years here. We've got bond financing, as you can see, in fiscal years 27 and 2028. That is the last year for the Rebuilding Michigan program. Investments remain pretty steady overall. You'll see a spike in 2028 related to about $437 million for the I-94 modernization project. That year also includes about $136 million for the I-75 over River Raisin Bridge replacement as well. The NRF shown near the top contributes about $221 million per year to our investment estimates. We see that number increase. As you can see in 2031, the investment distribution changes from about 20% to the State Trunk Line Fund to somewhere around 28 to 28.5% starting in that year. Gene covered a lot of this, so I'll just cover. We're looking at $2 billion in passenger transportation for local transit and intercity bus over the next 5 years. $1.2 billion for rail, freight, and port programs, with $230.3 million again in fiscal year 27. Though that additional funding for passenger and rail is covered through the intermodal capital, which consolidates a couple different revenue streams, transit capital and marine passenger primarily, into one larger flexible funding source to support larger projects across the five years. You see a couple different funding sources contribute to that. And then that Infrastructure Projects Authority program, which involves those transfers from the Neighborhood Roads Fund. And then the aeronautics program, we're looking at about $906 million over the next 5 years, with $245.45 million in 2027. Upon your approval this morning, we will open the public comment period starting tomorrow. We distribute information over a variety of sources to reach as broad of an audience as possible. So we use the MDOT website. There's an interactive map that the public can go to and comment directly on projects in an automated form, as well as social media outreach as well, given that these days the primary source for information from the public seems to be social media. So we're leveraging that to the best of our ability to get the word out. And with that, we're requesting your approval again to post the draft 5-year transportation program online and open the 30-day public comment period. Our next steps will be to kind of make sure everything is ADA compliant with our Office of Communications team, post the interactive map, make that live, and then we will start our public outreach and engagement. After that, we plan to bring this back to you around the November timeframe with the results of that public engagement and request your approval to submit it to the legislature by March 1st of 2027. And happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Michael. Hey, Michael, it's good to see that you're acknowledging and accounting for bumps in revenues due to the road funding package that recently passed. Just for reference, you had a 2027 program. Let's just pick the highway program for 2027. How does that compare to 2026? What bump did we realize from the funding, from the new revenue funding? Do you know off the top of your head?
Offhand, I would say that there's probably a small bump, but if memory serves me right, they're pretty consistent between 2026 and 2027, which has to do more with the projects that are included in those years rather than the revenue sources. So our investment remains largely consistent across years.
Any other questions? Thank you, Michael. So upon review of the draft of the 2027 to 2031 5-year transportation program, there's no other questions. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that's seconded. I think we're good there, right?
Yeah, so hearing that, we have a motion to approve and we will send it on to public comment.
Sounds
Thank
good to
you.
me. My
Appreciate
favorite
it.
part of the process.
Next up, we have
Thank you.
Brad with the Michigan Mobility 2050.
I'm just gonna assume that's gonna mess.
Yeah, we can do that if you'd like.
Wanna do a
Just to
vote?
just to respect Commissioner Brown's time, if you all would like, if Jack's okay as well, we could take a motion based on you guys' previous review of the 2050 plan, and then if she needs to step out in the middle of your presentation, we can do that if you're comfortable.
That's fine. Essentially, we're asking for a motion similar to Michael for the long-range plan. The dates are from August 10th to September 18th. So the dates are just slightly different, but we're
For the-
asking for a similar motion for the Michigan Mobility 2050 to put it out for public comment. So we'll start there.
How do you feel, Chair?
Yeah, I'm good with that. If you have any future questions, then I can get them.
Any future
Yes.
questions?
In the future, I have some questions.
Well,
No,
I want to say our contact information, so please feel free to reach out to us with any.
I mean, I'm a shrinking wallflower. That might not happen. Absolutely, I would welcome that. And thank you for accommodating this hard stop that I've got.
Understand.
Okay, so would you like me to
Go
go?
ahead.
Okay, so we'll call for a motion to post online for public comment the draft Michigan Mobility 2050 plan.
So moved.
Second.
All right, with that, the motion carries and that is approved, and then thank you. We'll go ahead. Do we need a voice vote for that, Jack? Where do you go? An A, yeah. Okay, sorry. That's, sorry, my bad.
Yeah,
Okay.
we skipped that part.
Michael's not here, so we'll blame Michael for that because I didn't put it in my notes. But okay, so do we have anyone opposed? Nope. Any yays?
On which what
Sorry,
motion?
for the 5-year program.
Aye, approved.
Aye.
Yes, okay. I'll get the hang of this, guys, I promise. And then moving to the Michigan Mobility 2050, do we have yays?
Yes,
Yes.
approved. Aye.
Yeah,
Aye.
thank you. Opposed? All right, now, hearing none, both of those motions carry. Thank you.
All right, so it's okay. We'll go ahead and get started and give you guys kind of an overview of what Michigan Mobility 2050 is. And so first of all, to introduce ourselves, I'm Brad Charlo. I am the manager of the Multimodal Strategic Planning and Policy section within the Bureau of Transportation Planning, where the long-range plan and these family of plans all sits under our work area. With me, I have Kyle Haller, who is our State Long Range Plan Coordinator and the overall project manager for the Long Range Plan. And then right behind me here, I have Dan Saya, who's serving as our Deputy Project Manager for this. So the three of us jointly will be giving this overview today for you guys. And so with that, I'll get into this. And so my role as the past project manager of this before I became the overall is to give you the history on all of this. And then Kyle and Dan will get into the meat of what's in this plan. And so the state long range plan essentially is a multimodal policy-based planning document that establishes the vision, goals, objectives, and key strategies for the overall state of Michigan transportation network. And so it is federally required that we develop this in order to receive federal funding on our federal aid road system and on our different modes. We must have a 20-plus year planning horizon at the time the plan is adopted. And then we typically update it once every 5 years. And so Michigan's a little unique and progressive in the fact that we have done an effort to combine a lot of our multimodal plans together in one effort. So we call this our family of plans because we not only do the state long-range plan, but we also have federal requirements for a freight plan and a rail plan. And so all of those got put together. And then also we have a statewide active transportation plan. This will be the second iteration of that. And so this, when we're talking about MM 2050, we're talking about 4 different planning efforts that have merged together as one. And so the question on why did we incorporate these in the first place was because we wanted to ensure that our plans spoke the same message and we're avoiding that conflict as we talk from one program to another. And we also felt it was more efficient as a department and as a state to be bringing everyone together one time instead of 4 or 5 times. And so in general, this effort has been a continuation of what we've been doing for the last 5 years with Michigan Mobility 2045. Just to show you kind of where does the long-range plan fit into the overall planning and program development cycle here. As Michael just talked about the 5-year program, this kind of starts earlier in the process. So based on policies and regulations, the long-range plan serves as that first step in establishing that vision, goals, performance measures, and taking those policies and setting that long-term direction. It then feeds into the development of our program where you see asset management plans and our call for projects and everything, and then feeds into what Michael talked about earlier with our 5-year transportation program, as well as our federally required statewide transportation improvement programs. And finally, we get into the delivery of the projects that you've seen talked about and you see out there on the roads and everywhere. So the big thing we want to highlight here is this plan for Michigan Mobility 2050 is really serving as a reaffirmation of Michigan Mobility 2045 that we came to you 5 years ago and you adopted this in November of 2021. As we mentioned, we're federally required to update these every 5 years to keep things current. But at the same time, there's a lot of work that's put into developing these plans and putting together a lot of effort. And so it takes time to implement this. And so what we've realized is the vision in terms of where we want to go in the long term hasn't really changed in the last 5 years. But what's been going on in the short term, obviously you've seen a lot of changes. So we're still have the vision and the goals that you guys adopted on behalf of the long range plan but the information with the pandemic and how trends have changed is what we're updating here in this long-range plan update. And so this is basically serving the vision, the goals, objectives, the strategies are essentially the same. But we're going to have a base year of 2023 and looking at trends that are post-pandemic at this point, whereas the MM 2045 was all based on pre-pandemic information. And so based on that, and then we also need to extend it 5 years so that we keep that 20-year planning horizon moving forward. And so with that, that gives a little history. The other thing I want to highlight is when we did Michigan Mobility 2045, we spent an extensive amount of time with a large stakeholder group of over 100 individuals from partnering agencies, as well as people within the department, and an extensive amount of public and stakeholder engagement where we had well over, I think, 14,000 participants in online surveys, as well as town hall meetings and other ways to provide information that helped inform that plan. And so based on all that, we do feel that we want to continue, and there's been a lot of work. If you read the last chapter of this plan, you'll see all the accomplishments and a lot of the activities that are going on that's based on that vision. And we're still in the process of implementing. So reaffirming this plan for 5 years to allow us to keep working through that is where we're at right now. And so based on that, I want to turn it over to Kyle and Dan, and they're going to talk a little more about some of the specifics within Michigan Mobility 2050.
Thank you, Brad. Good morning, almost good afternoon, looks like. As Brad was saying, we had an extensive stakeholder and partnership effort, both internal and external partners, to develop our vision, goals, and strategies for MM 2045. And so we adopted them for MM 2050. And I'm not going to read everything, but you can see a couple of the bolded words there that we're safe, efficient, future-driven, adaptable, and we're people-focused. With the goals, these are just the key category areas: safety and security, network condition, mobility, quality of life, economic and stewardship, and partnerships. For MM 2050, our plan structure is we have the plan overview document. That's what you guys got in your package. And then a series of white papers that really gets into the details on, you name it, on the right side of the list there: SE data, existing conditions, and inventory, and it goes on. We will post those online for your review and public through the public comment period. Some key trends that we wanted to kind of point out is Michigan's population and the projection going out to 2050, 10.5 million in 2050. We heard there might be some more up-to-date estimates that we'll change the white paper on. But the point is, our population is getting older. We're not getting younger. You can see almost 500,000 people additionally for the state, but seniors, 540,000, 65 and over. It's just something that we have to consider and look forward to help our transportation system. And what else? MM 2050 with existing conditions and inventory. We cover the performance of the network as it pertains to asset management and condition. Performance management, that's how it impacts the users of the network for both people and freight. What is included in MM 2050? Dan will cover this a little bit more later, but it's all federal aid roads. That includes trunk line and locally owned, all bridges over 20 feet, all of our transit agencies, all of our rail lines, aviation, commercial, and public use airports, our marine ports, and with active transportation, our U.S. bike routes and our on and off-road facilities. Additionally, with the system performance report, we cover safety, infrastructure condition, system reliability, and then freight movement and economic vitality. Strategic multimodal corridors. So these are really the key corridors that drive our state, that move people and goods. And what is that figure for how much goods within the corridor that we have?
Yeah, along the corridors, we have over 90% of our employment are within the bands of these corridors, and
Right.
over 80% of our residents. And so that's where we try to focus our investments and do further evaluation as a state.
Thank you. Community, environment, and health. This chapter covers current and future issues addressing our state. Just a few examples in what's in the chapter is, My Healthy Climate Plan, our Resilience Improvement Plan, and Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, including implementation and how we are monitoring that. And I will pass it off to Dan to cover needs.
Thanks, Kyle. So with this effort, we go along with an effort to try to estimate the total needs that face the state, and we do kind of want to reiterate these aren't just MDOT's needs, but these are all of Michigan needs, and we cover several of those, several of the modes, and we also do MDOT and local needs as well. We have 6 areas of needs that we cover, including network and system preservation. And so this is the bulk of the need. It's about maintaining roads, maintaining bridges, maintaining our technological systems and various assets. We also talk about network system capacity and right sizing, including the areas where we may need to expand the network or potential areas where we could reduce the network as well. We also engage with network management and operations, and so the general flow and the operation of our roadways. network accessibility and connectivity, the general connection, the ability of folks to get from A to B. Another area of need we cover is network resiliency, and so that involves preparing for potential disruptions, natural disasters in other areas, and also freight needs. So overall, we worked with subject matter experts across MDOT to establish these statewide needs. And we came up with an estimate of approximately $251 billion of needs over the 2026 through 2050 period. In the previous plan for MM 2045, this figure was approximately $165 billion. And so this does represent just how much inflation has impacted these overall needs and costs in recent years. We also engage in estimating our future revenues as well, based on basically current programs that are involved in gaining those revenues, both state and federal sources of revenues. And we currently forecast over that same period that our revenues are going to be approximately $138 billion. And so that results in a $114 billion gap between our forecasted needs statewide and our forecasted revenues. And here, this essentially presents a graphic of where those needs are, and we can see pavement very much sticks out. We both have the trunk line system pavement and also local federal aid roads as being the largest portions of there. And this demonstrates where those needs are, and also where the gap is with our current financing. And essentially, when it comes to those inflation figures, pavement stands out as being that primary area where we have seen that inflation occur over the past years, and in where those larger expenses are occurring. And so overall, basically, we see Michigan's gap is from MM 2045 to our current plan. The gap between needs has decreased a little. From 53%, we're now covering approximately 55% of our needs. And so there was notable increases in investment statewide for Michigan's transportation programs and increasing funding, but it does show that some of these increased investments have been muted by just how vast inflation has been in recent years. And so overall, Michigan still needs to roughly double its overall revenues over the forecast period in order to meet these broad needs. And we also cover and talk about, we've discussed this economic benefit analysis tool. I know Gene mentioned this earlier as well, because at the end of the day, there's a broader story to how we fund these needs and the impacts that has on the broader economy and the broader conditions as well. And so underfunding needs can lead to more costs, and there can also be additional benefits to helping fund those needs. And there's also new strategies that we are engaged with to help increase funding. And so for instance, research into user fees is one of those items that are going on now to help enhance funding sources and find new mechanisms for increasing that funding. And I'll hand it back to Kyle.
Well, now, good afternoon. With our public and stakeholder engagement, we really are piggybacking off of what we did with MM 2045. We've already conducted 2 public meetings, and after this, starting August 10th, we'll have public meetings, and we'll put out a two-week comment period. In addition to that, we'll have freight and rail stakeholder meetings. Alicia Dufresne and Sarah Moore will help facilitate those. In addition, our 2025 MDOT Attitudes and Perception Survey, or A&P survey, if you will, we conduct that every 2 years, and it's a stratified survey of adult Michigan residents. And I encourage you to go out and read this report. It's great. There's a lot of good questions. We do ask long-range planning questions, such as our goals and the 10 required planning factors, federal planning factors. And then we conducted a strategy survey of stakeholders that looks at all of the strategies of MM 2050 that we carried over for MM 2045 to gauge did they still agree with these? If not, are we missing the mark? Are there examples of something that we can add for the future? I don't want to say it's going to be MM 2055, but the next long range plan. In total, we have 29 strategies, and it covers the areas of safety, managing resources, providing accessibility, supporting Michigan's health, building resilience, working together, which is partnerships, looking at technology. AI has become huge lately, and then economic vitality. So implementation of this plan in conjunction with MM 2045, just some examples. We are conducting multimodal corridor plans so that that corridor report that I showed you, the key corridors, we did one on I-75 between Flint and Auburn Hills. Dan will be a project manager on one between Grand Rapids and Brighton, Michigan. On 96, I just said that. We also, our vision was used to develop the MDOT strategic plan. There's multiple transit and active transportation initiatives going on, and maintaining partnerships, in addition to asset management programs and efforts. So you guys already voted on it, but we wanted to ask you if we can put the plan out there for the public comment period. That will be again August 10th and August 18th. What we'll do, we'll take in those comments and we'll adjust the plan and accompanying documents based on what we heard. And then we'll come back to you November 5th for the final approval of the plan. And I think that's it. Any questions?
Any questions?
Well, yes, but in the interest of time, perhaps I could give you my comments on the plan directly rather than taking
Absolutely
time now.
Yes,
It
good
might
with
be
that.
easier. I just have one overarching comment, which is there's no way to read this thing without having it scare the hell out of you, right? I mean, seriously, I mean, it conjures up, the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, the first two books of a 6-book set that Edward Gibbon wrote. And unless, I'm thinking the intent here is to scare the hell out of whoever reads this, and I think that's good. And I think the commission should be in a position to go to the legislature and the next governor and say, look, we really need to address this. And you mentioned user fees. The road usage charging study and pilot is constrained by the Budget Act to just look at roads and bridges. But my own personal view is we need to think about road usage charging to provide for multimodal transportation in the state of Michigan. And that's a policy change that would need to happen by the legislature. But I don't want to be characterized as trying to kill the messenger. This is great. I'm glad you are addressing these things. It's just a very sad document.
Well,
Thank you.
I would just say a few things here. Yes, in regards to the needs, we are trying to wake everyone up to just the sheer magnitude of this. The $251 billion over 25 years is mind-boggling. As we break it down, and if you look at it, that equates to about what we're showing in terms of the MDOT roads alone is about 2.8 billion a year in terms of our numbers, just by looking at that. But I also caution, we still don't have the full story because a lot of this information we don't have the ability to quantify yet. And so, but on the other side, I want to give a vision of hope in terms of we are doing a lot of things and doing the best we can with what we have and making some strides. As we saw, we have actually reduced the gap percentage wise over the last 5 years through all the work that has been going on here. However, yes, we still need to keep moving forward. So yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thank
that. So next, we're moving to the M32 I-75 Diamond Interchange presentation by Jason.
Should I close this down?
Exactly on the slideshow, has the speaker notes. Just get the.
That's here. That's us. I wondered what all the work was about. Oh, just wait. Will I be able to get that down? 75 years old. Eventually. Today. Great, great. All right, that's done.
That looks right.
This is gonna be amazing.
Thank you. So my name is Jay Galitas. I'm the Gaylord TSC manager for MDOT, and we plan to construct a DDI. That's a diverging diamond interchange right down the road on I-75 and M32. It's a major important hub for the North region here. East-west connector, north-south stopping point, centrally located. And over time, slowly, incrementally, traffic has grown. Being a hub, kind of that central point, we have constantly battled the slow, incremental increase in congestion at this location. I'm hitting the cursor. So a little bit of a history. The bridges were constructed along with the freeway back in 1961. In the 1990s, we added the loop ramp. In the 2000s, we constructed a center left turn lane under the bridges to help mitigate stacking left turn lockup between the ramps. We did east-west corridor study in the 2000s. In the 2010s, we modernized the signal system with a responsive signal system. That did some good. The turn lane did some good. In the 2010s, we worked with our central office operations unit, looked at bigger picture fixes to mitigate congestion and safety. No money to go along with it, but as we got rolled into the 2020s, we planned on a more marginal improvements, geometric improvements at the interchange that would do some good with operational improvements. We canceled that for that was actually slated for next year with the advent of IIJ funding and an opportunity along with operational funding template to do what really needs to be done. The bridges at the interchange will be replaced in the near future. They're up. That's the next step for those two bridges. While we're in there with the opportunity to have some funding to go along with it, long-term operational choke point. We have an adjacent section of M32 right there. That is an orphan section of that needs full reconstruction. We've had a history of vulnerable user, gaps in sidewalk, pedestrians walking on lanes of traffic in certain locations and at certain times. So opportunity to do something more. So AECom we brought on board as our design consultant for a project that we called Interchange Improvement Project. So we wanted to make sure we get this right with the funding opportunity and do comparative analyses that involved the city of Gaylord. We created an advisory committee with all the local officials and all the local stakeholders. We held interim meetings, regular meetings as we proceeded with pretty extensive analysis by AECom for operational analysis, crash analysis, safety analysis. We looked at the bigger picture possibilities like DDI, single point interchange that you may have seen around the state. And also kind of a do nothing option that involved just replacing the bridges and doing what we can with geometric improvements with the existing footprint. So lots of feedback, and there really was a consensus. Internal MDOT, central office operations, our design consultant, and for to a large extent the community to kind of, and there's a lot more to be said for this engagement process and selection process. But to cut to the chase, we landed on the DDI. So the hallmark of the DDI, if you can see, in this case, it's east-west traffic on M32 crosses, switches position right before the bridges, carries through, and then crosses and switches back. And that allows us to take the ramps right towards the crossing points and fork them off, and in essence, it allows us to take left turning traffic and have them merge directly with the flow of traffic to where they got to go. Right turn, direct turns into the flow of traffic in the direction that they need to go. Just another view of the DDI after completion right here in Gaylord. And just a side note, one challenge about this location is it's not just the interchange and M32 traffic. We do have a major intersection right adjacent to the interchange. So I mentioned kind of the benefits of how operations improve the direct turns. There's a reduction in conflict points that'll improve operations, reduce crash potential. I think it's well established that there's at least a 50% crash reduction expectation with DDIs. We have two-phase signals, simple signals right at the crossing points. Vulnerable users, I kind of made mention of. We were able to bring along with us the carbon reduction funding template to address vulnerable users and do quite a bit of sidewalk work. A 10-foot non-motorized path through the DDI and east and west to connect to existing non-motorized path. The rest of it, sidewalk going upwards of 1.5 miles in each direction where there's a high demand in pedestrian traffic. Which leads me into that is one of the funding sources for this project. There's a multitude of funding participation, IIJA primarily, and as well as our operations funding template, our own region, capital preventive maintenance. We are including a mill and fill adjacent as part of this project to the west. Our safety template will be allowing us to install freeway lighting and enhanced pedestrian crosswalk signals and enhanced crosswalks. And then that kind of leads us into the considerable participation and cooperation with the city of Gaylord. They're funding quite a bit for their storm sewer, sanitary sewer and a water main. Also, they were successful in obtaining a TAP grant, that's Transportation Alternatives Program, to include pedestrian amenities, spaces, streetscape lighting, gateway treatments, aesthetic enhancements. So this project will be much more than just the interchange, just the DDI. It'd be a great enhancement to the city of Gaylord beyond just the operational and safety improvements. So just to kind of wrap it up here, M&M Excavating, we just awarded a contract as our contractor. Their bids came basically spot on. with our design estimates. The design was on time, on budget. The design resources, a lot of credit to them, along with the locals that we worked with. So construction will commence after Labor Day. It's really pre-work, temporary widening, crossover out on the freeway, construction, sidewalk, detour improvements. On the detour, we've been working with a local agency in fast tracking a safety project that they have on our detour route that they're looking to get complete this fall. So it's in place, ready to go for next year. So this fall is pre-work, low traffic impact. Next year, 2027, to simplify, we're going to replace one of the bridges and do full reconstruction to the east. That's the northbound bridge. 2028, we'll replace the southbound bridge and finish things up on the west side and through the DDI. And one last note is we have an established alternate route that will be in place for the duration of the project. It's Town Line Road to McCoy up over to our business loop. There will be detoured traffic for periods of time when we have to set beams, we have to do bridge demolition. We've done major projects in Gaylord in the past. Traffic finds its way around pretty well. They have Alpenfest every year, but there will be traffic impacts, no doubt. But it's going to be a great enhancement, operational safety improvement, enhancement to the city of Gaylord. So if this works, DDIs, if you look at a DDI, from a plan view, it might look a little intimidating, a little confusing. When you actually drive through them, you probably have around the state, pretty imperceptible. The animations do a pretty good job of showing you, how imperceptible it is to drive through it, and also give you a good feel for the enhancements in Gaylord. And I'm just going to show you three of them. The first one is basically just on M32 driving right through the detour, I believe.
This video demonstrates how drivers on eastbound M32 will travel through the interchange to reach downtown Gaylord. Drivers will use either of the two middle through lanes and proceed through the Dickerson Road intersection when the light is green. Drivers should stay in the two middle through lanes and proceed through the first interchange traffic signal when the light is green. Drivers will continue east on M32 through the second interchange traffic signal when the light is green to reach downtown Gaylord.
And we share this with the public through our development of the selection process.
This video demonstrates.
I'm going to Okay, I'll show this. This one, I believe, northbound I-75, getting off onto M32 and then over to that Dickerson Road intersection.
This video demonstrates how drivers on northbound I-75 will exit at M32 and proceed to Dickerson Road. On exiting, drivers will bear left on the ramp to head west on M32. At the first signal, drivers will stay to the left and proceed through the intersection when the light is green. Drivers will stay left and proceed through the second traffic signal when the light is green. On approaching the Dickerson Road intersection, drivers will use the left turn lane and complete their turn when the left turn arrow signal is green.
Isn't it nice? You'll always get a green light no matter what. And then one last simulation to show the pedestrians moving through.
This video demonstrates how pedestrians on M32 will move through the interchange. Pedestrians can approach the interchange using sidewalks and paths on both sides of M32 and will need to stop and wait for ramp traffic to clear before crossing the ramps. Pedestrians will then cross M32 traffic using the crosswalks at the signalized intersections. Pedestrians in both directions will use the sidewalk in the middle of the M32 median beneath the I-75 bridges, crossing at the signalized crosswalks on the other side of the interchange.
So thank you for giving me the time to share this with you. We're excited about it. And if you have any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
So one question, so DDIs have a fairly significant footprint. Are you able to do all this? It appears you're doing all in existing right away.
We do have right-of-way acquisition. I'd say the vast majority is for sidewalk placement. We had very little right-of-way we needed to take on one of the corners. DDI, I guess the area of MDOT right-of-way was part of the reason this was a good fit. So we did not, in general, need much right-of-way.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Jason. Appreciate
you.
that. Okay, so next I'd like to highlight, talking about northern Michigan, extreme weather. I wanted to talk about this piece first, right? I want to talk about
Yes,
this first.
okay, go ahead.
So we're going on the northern Michigan thing, and then, so I wanted to highlight, before we got too far in the meeting, a past MDOT retired engineer, CEO Bronner, that is at age 103. We'd like to honor their name. And in the UP, the Seney Stretch Rest Area is named after him currently. So that's a major accomplishment for somebody to get to that age, and we respect his service at the department. So want to highlight that too. So, yep. And now we'll move on to the Northern Michigan Extreme Weather Events presentation. Bill?
Thank you. Let me get this pulled up. While Bill is pulling up his presentation, I would like to introduce him as the new North Region engineer, replacing Scott Thayer, one of our great colleagues that retired a month or two ago. So Bill will be taking on that role. If we get it to not show all the, just show the slideshow, that will be ideal.
By the way, that 103-year-old former Michigan DOT employee, it was a wounded veteran, and just if you ever have a chance to Google him and read his story, it's very interesting, very impressive, both his war service as well as his service to Michigan DOT.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, for giving me the chance to come and talk to you today. You'll notice my slide background. There's a lot of water droplets on it because, as you'll see, pretty much everything we're talking about today is related to water. It's been an interesting year and a half or so here in North Region. In my prior role, I've been our emergency management coordinator for the past 15 years for the Northern Michigan area. And we've had the occasional storm that had hit. We've had tornadoes. We've had a few things, but nothing has compared to what we've dealt with in the past year and a half up here. So just kind of give a highlight of some of the recent events. And if you thought that the earlier presentation was a little scary, wait till you see my pictures. So just kind of the highlight of the events we've dealt with. So this goes back to last year. So last spring, we had the ice storm that took out and impacted pretty much all of Northern Michigan. When you talk to line workers that were here, they referenced it was similar to a Cat 5 hurricane impacts. It was really amazing. The spring, we had another ice storm because who doesn't need an ice storm every year? This was a little different area of impact, though. It was not nearly as significant and it wasn't as long lasting, thank goodness.
Last year was primarily the northern and eastern portion. This year's it was more southerly to the eastern side. So a lot of the areas that got hit last year, like right here, I've got some very unique pictures of what our office looked like last spring. It missed us totally. The blizzard that was going north missed us. The ice that went south missed us. It was kind of nice to not be out of power for another week and a half. Then we had flooding. After all the spring runoff, the storms we had this spring, that impact was primarily on, for MDOT, was primarily on US 31, M68, and M119, but we were only a little portion of that impact when you look at all the local communities and the local agencies. And then you fast forward to the end of June and we had flash flooding events. Our impact for that, it was very narrow areas of impact. The whole northern Michigan got just deluged in rain, but the actual spots that we had damaged were pretty much restricted to M88, M66, and then up again on M119. You'll see a trend here of talking about M119. So first off, we're going to hit the ice storm. So I'm just going to let this video play in the background. So this was a video one of our maintenance supervisors took right after the storm hit, trying to get home. And I can't tell how well the color is there. This is actually on a county road, not on our road, but it was indicative of what we saw. You just literally were dodging trees and driving over power lines to do anything. Every couple hundred feet, you were going around another tree that was laying on the road. Widespread damage throughout all of northern Michigan. The power outages were very extensive. Some of the power companies up here had 100% of their customers without power, and that was because every single substation was damaged. They could repair the lines, but there was no power to send to their customers. But with that, we actually had limited true infrastructure damage to our system. It was all debris for the most part. I mean, literally, we had a couple of signs that were damaged and a wood pole that we had to replace. But that was pretty much all we had for actual true hard damage. But on the other side of that, at one point, we had over 200 employees between us, other regions of the state, and county road commissions working, clearing debris just on trunk line. That's not counting the 1,000+ line workers that were working on the power systems or the countless staff that was working from the counties and the cities on their own systems. So it was a very large scale effort to try to get things back up and running. And that took well over a month to actually get things back to where they are. And we're still actually feeling the impacts of it today because we could only take out the things that were down. There are so many, if you drive around and look in the tops of the trees, there are so many tree tops that are still hanging and dangling that are just waiting for the right windstorm to bring them down, that this is an ongoing effort that is going to continue. We went through the most critical spots afterwards and sent high ranger trucks through to try to take down stuff we could. But the volume of branches that are hanging is pretty substantial, and it's going to be an ongoing impact to us for the years to come. Jump to the 2026 ice storm. The interesting thing with these ice storms, they're really hard to get pictures of because once the weather warms up, the ice all goes away and you're really kind of scrambling trying to get the roads open. So we really don't have, on my computer, I didn't have a whole lot from this storm. As I mentioned, it was a lot more localized than the impact from last year. Pretty much a line from Cadillac up to Alpena is what really got impacted out of this year's storm. Majority of those spots didn't really have much impact last year. The exception being Alpena, Alcona County, which probably got hit harder this year than they did in last year's ice storm, and then had flooding happen a couple weeks later. So that helped a little bit that there was areas that hadn't been damaged already. On this one, we didn't have very much impact on the trunk line, but we have really strong cooperative relationships with our road commissions up here. Pretty much all of our area up here, the road commissions do our maintenance. And we had disaster declared for this area again, which allowed us to go and help those road commissions. The same road commissions that were helping us dramatically last year, we could go provide resources. We had resources out cleaning our trunk lines where normally the county would be doing it, or some spots we had our trucks out helping plow the county roads so that they could keep their staff focused on taking care of getting the roads cleaned up. So it was really great cooperative effort. You hate to see an emergency be the cause of cooperation, and we work really well together, but I'm really proud of all of our teams that worked on this, of how well when it hits, things go bad, how quickly they all just kind of go, all right, what needs to be done? Who has the right piece of equipment to fix what needs to be fixed? So then we jump to this spring after the ice storm, and now we had flooding. And this was a really widespread event. I mean, northern Michigan got hit. But what was interesting is that the disaster declaration, when it was done, covered 40 out of the 83 counties in the state of Michigan. So I'm only going to hit on some things that happened here directly to us, but there was a lot of issues all throughout the state. One of the really unique parts to this one that we've not dealt with before is because there's so much water coming into the system. Yes, we had some tremendous damage to our road network. You can see the picture on the lower side there. That's M68 over by Rogers City. Upper picture is US 31 near the Conway area, kind of between Petoskey and going up to Mackinac City. But the impact to the dams was probably the biggest concern throughout this entire event. The Sheboygan Dam up in Sheboygan was very seriously, we were concerned that that was going to fail. We have a lift bridge that's just downstream of that bridge or from that dam that there were significant concerns on. We actually made the call early on in the storm that we just opened the bridge up. There was a good detour route on a high quality structure just to the south that was upstream of the dam instead of downstream that we could put our traffic on. But due to the potential risk, if that dam did let go and damage that lift bridge, the cost, the impact, not only to our traffic, to maritime traffic, to everyone who needs to get through that corridor, we made that decision. It was safer and more conservative just to open the bridge, inconvenience the traffic a little bit during this while the flooding was happening until the water came down. But that was definitely new for us to have to worry about, really be concerned about dam failures. And there were dams all over that we were worried about failing, and what was almost all of them have a bridge downstream. And what was going to happen if that dam did fail and all of a sudden it took the bridges out. So we did have another federal disaster declaration. We're looking at least 5 locations where we can seek federal emergency response funds to help with our repair efforts. We still have ongoing investigations of our bridges throughout. We'll probably have some additional spots that need repairs done to them on a much smaller scale that will add to that list of spots where we're looking for federal funding. And work's currently ongoing to restore all these roadways. So M68, that was the picture on the bottom. That one, we're really proud to say that by mid-June, we had that section reopened. That was an old 6x10 foot box culvert that had collapsed. There's a 3-sided, and it just totally took everything out under the footings that just cracked and crumbled in the middle. So we did go through and install the County Road Commission up there. Presque Isle County Road Commission was able to get in for us and installed 3 6-foot or 5-foot diameter culverts. In there is a temporary solution. We will actually have to come in and put a new culvert in there. Right now, the hydraulic sizing is that's going to jump from a 6x10 to about a 12x24. So a very large size increase to properly handle the water flows that are through that area. So we're hoping next summer, if not potentially the summer after. Roads open, the criticality there is a little less in terms of the rush to get through there. So just some other spots. US 31, we've got a spot up north of the Eastport area. That's the upper picture on this slide. It's hard to see. A lot of these are hard to capture in pictures, honestly. But when you get out there, the whole slope is just kind of sloughing down into a swamp area. And our guardrail that should be about here is now at the road surface. It's not where it's supposed to be. So we've got a project going in this fall to get that restored before winter. US 31 along Crooked Lake, that was the one that had the sandbags. We're working right now with the Army Corps to get our permits to go in, and we can't lower the water, but we can harden the shoulder, put riprap along all those shoulders to protect the roadway moving forward. The lower picture is M119 near a road called Stutzmanville Road. This was an interesting spot that you had slope failures down. It's a really steep slope next to the roadway. And we had slope failures on our property. It was extending out into the adjacent properties that were getting to the point they were starting to risk the actual stability of the roadway. So that roadway has been shut down since the spring storms. We actually have an emergency contract that's underway right now to install a soil nail stabilized retaining wall, which is very unique. That's not something we've done very often. To try to get that get that reopened. We're hoping by the end of summer to have that specific section back opened up. And then M119 near Division Road, that was the very first picture that's got, I'm sure many of you have seen in the media, of the big hole that's in M119 right now. That one, we're working on getting a design together right now. We're targeting hopefully next summer again to try to get something done there. That one, with the nature of where it's at, how impactful it was, and there's a relatively short detour around it, we're not doing a temporary solution. We're just going to wait and do a permanent solution because we do have a very short, low impact detour around it. So then we jump to the flash flooding that happened on June 29th. It's two separate rain events. We had one that hit the M88 to M66 corridor, and then another up on M119. In both spots, they're estimating 5 to 6 inches of rain over a 1 to 2 hour period, which is a very large amount of rain. We had along M88 and M66, we had 4 different locations that were impacted with culverts, or basically, in most spots, the water actually overtopped the road. The culverts were not damaged, with the exception on that one on M66, but there was so much water, and some of these spots, these culverts are down 10 to 15 feet below the road, and the entire road was overtopped and then up another few feet, and it ended up just having huge washouts. So in those locations, I'm happy to say all those are back open. We were able to get an emergency culvert replacement on M66. Our maintenance crews have been out and have rebuilt the slopes on the rest of them. And then one of them actually was scheduled to be replaced this fall anyways. So we got a temporary fix in there, and then sometime in mid-August, they'll be actually going through and doing the pre-scheduled replacement. The second storm hit M119. Similar areas as what got hit this spring. A little more focused on the south section between Stutzmanville Road and up in the Goodhart area. So I want to show a couple of these will play. So this is a drone video, and this is a spot that I am there. You cannot capture in pictures the extent of what is happening out there. So this is M119 at a location called Devil's Elbow, that during the storm, I have some videos, and it looked like a waterfall dropping 50, 60 feet off the edge of the roadway. And now we have this just sheer drop that's going along the roadway. And if the camera was to turn and pan at this point, you'd see it extends for a couple hundred feet, at least in all directions. And we own 66 feet. So the roadway is, not surprising, the roadway is closed right there. And we're trying to evaluate what we can do at this location to try to fix it, to restore it. Because the level of the damage we're dealing with at some of these spots, we could go in and do something right at our location, but the rest of the bluff, all the downstream in each direction has the same damage, and another good rain event could come back and impact where we're at. So we've got some contracts we're working on right now to get investigations of what do we even do here, because it's such an extensive amount of damage. The other part, if I can get this other video, doesn't show as much, but this is a little bit further north than there. Another section that there's a segment, it's probably 400 feet long, that the slope is just sloughed off the entire way, but it's all outside our property. Doesn't currently impact our road, but we don't know what would happen if there was another storm. So the road's open in these sections to local traffic because of we do have a break there at the Devil's Elbow area, but there's a lot of long-term questions and concerns of what are we going to do here because these impacts are so significant. So as I mentioned, all the M66 and M8 locations are up and running. 119 stays still fully closed at Devil's Elbow, but we're working through repairs at all the other spots, hardening the slopes. One of the challenges we have is these are really tall bluffs in most spots. The repairs go well and the damage goes well outside our right of way. So we're trying to focus on strengthening and hardening those areas that we have control over as we evaluate what needs to be done and work with the other partners to figure out long-term solutions. With that, I think that's the end of mine, pending any questions from members of the commission.
Any questions for Bill?
Just one real quick. All of the repair restoration work, except for that one culvert that was scheduled, is not in budget, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Just a question, when on the last repair or the situation showing where it's not really MDOT right away that's failed, it's adjacent property, private owner?
Yep.
What do we do? What's our obligation? Are we good neighbors? Do we work with that property owner? How do you guys maneuver that?
That's a really good discussion. I'll look at Director and Greg a little, but that's the challenge we have on this corridor. So that's been the issue on a lot of spots. We've had all kinds of locations. These are the acute issues we're dealing with today. every year we have different spots, and we try to look at what's within our right of way, what can we work with. Some of the spots where we have that soil nail wall, we knew the adjacent property owners had their own issues. So as we got a vendor in place, we were providing that information so they could hopefully piggyback off of our vendor to work on their own properties. But it's a really challenging spot because we only have legal ability to work within our property, and we have 66 foot of statutory right of way out there. It's a really narrow section that we own, so it's definitely a major challenge.
So Bill just did a great job of answering your question, I think. But for those that have driven M119, the Tunnel of Trees, it's an extremely unique road. Very interesting geometry. So I don't think we're going to have any choice but to work with adjacent property owners in order to solve these problems long term. But as Commissioner Paracchio just mentioned, we didn't budget for these. We have maintenance budgets. We have some contingency, but those are already pretty tight themselves. So we have a lot of work to do on these to figure out, one, what's even possible, and two, how are we actually going to pay for it? So some pretty tough decisions that the department's going to have to make on these.
Are there state or federal disaster dollars you guys can chase? I assume you'll chase whatever you can.
Absolutely, absolutely, they are. And as Bill mentioned, the emergency declarations are out there. Did we get an emergency declaration for the June 26th event?
Yep, we did.
We did. Okay. All right. So that's possible. Usually I've seen these when there's a culvert washed out and it's kind of isolated. It's one thing. We rip it out, we put the new one in, and away we go. This one, I had the ability yesterday to go take a look at it yesterday afternoon when it came up, and these pictures don't do any justice to it until you're standing there to see the extent of the damage. This is beyond anything I've seen from a washout. So we'll see. We will overturn every rock that we can, literally, in order to make sure that we can find the resources to get done what we need to get done.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. So now we'll move into the public comment period. Public comment is now open. Speakers have up to 3 minutes. Please be aware of your time. So Amy, would you like to introduce the first speakers?
Yes, up first we have Miss Brianna Egan. Yep, no problem.
It's just party for 3 minutes.
No. We'll give her time to get set up.
I had a nice minute, so we're already doing really good.
Can I move this laptop or no?
You can close it.
Yeah, sorry. I wasn't planning on using it. It can go right here. No, I think I got it. Apologies, I'm going to try and keep this under 3 minutes. Normally I can do it pretty quickly, but we had to wake up very early and get our kids ready to get here in 3 hours. So, Chair, Commissioners, and Director, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Brianna Egan, and today I'm here as a mother, a homeowner, and an at-large member of the Chesterfield Hills Neighborhood Association, which sits between two MDOT-owned trunk lines, Grand River to the north, Michigan Avenue, so M43, M143 to the south. This corridor is no stranger to traffic safety concerns. This is our state-designated elementary school crossing that goes right through the trunk line. We're used to years of traffic that does not expect to stop and that operates at speeds not conducive to pedestrian survival. What I'm here to talk about today, though, are a series of trunk line access decisions that were made on the southern trunk line on Michigan Avenue that have made our fragile situation exponentially worse. So, let's see. Between 2014, MDOT eliminated multiple crossovers down here, right? So they closed these off and made no left turn here. This predictably directed all northbound traffic up this road, Kensington Road, which is an NFC 7 road, local road, and it goes directly through our school zone. This was done despite the fact that there's an NFC 6 mini collector right next door with no access now. Kensington is the school route for our neighborhood. It has all the school bus stops for all the neighborhood kids. Again, this is the state designated school crossing for the elementary school. Obviously, after the changes, we did data and the cut through traffic has increased by a factor of 4. I thank you to Mr. Brenner for bringing up GPS because after the change, all the GPS apps began routing commercial and commuter traffic up Kensington as well and through the school zone. This wasn't the original design, though. I have it up there from the 72-page report. Originally, the plan was a Michigan left, which was 150 feet east of Kensington, which would have protected the school crossing, the historic properties, kept regional traffic out of the neighborhood. It was approved for funding, it was evaluated for impacts, and it was never built. According to the administrative record for this project, the project received an environmental clearance as a programmatic categorical exclusion. Not an engineer, sorry about this, but the file doesn't have documentation of impact analysis or even an acknowledgement that they considered the impact to the historic district, which is Chesterfield Hills Neighborhood Association, the school routes, the school crossing, or the concerns documented about this road in the Safe Routes to School listening session that had occurred just 6 months prior to the environmental classification. Post-construction, we have data, testimony, petitions, multiple local government interventions that have tried to mitigate the effects. We've tried to address this directly with our MDOT University Region Office. We were first told that this wasn't MDOT's design or idea, then that all the appropriate analysis had been completed, and even that the crossover was in the exact same place and held the same load, which is over there on the far
Ma'am,
right. As
Thank
before.
you. Your time is up. Your 3 minutes. I apologize. We have to hold them 3 minutes. I know.
I thought it was so close. I have just two asks, and my ask is only just to please urge the director to improve the school crossing sooner than 10 years. And then also, please consider the impacts that have happened to this crossover design and do all that you can to try to mitigate it, maybe even shifting to the right. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Egan. Next up, we have Dr. Carissa Buchholz.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Carissa Buchholz, and I am speaking on behalf of the Glen Cairn Elementary School Community Council in East Lansing. I am here today because every child deserves a safe route to school. Our community has requested the speed limit on MDOT-controlled Grand River Avenue at Kensington Road, a major pedestrian crossing for Glen Cairn elementary students, be returned to 25 miles per hour, and that the intersection be redesigned to support safer, slower traffic, including a fully signalized traffic light. Yet we are repeatedly told that pursuing these safety improvements could trigger a speed study that would likely result in the speed limit being increased. This places our community in an impossible position. The 85th percentile rule is being treated as an objective measure of safety, but it measures only how fast people already drive. When roads are designed to encourage speeding, the study simply validates those speeds, and our children bear the risk. MDOT's stated goal is zero traffic deaths, yet a majority of MDOT roads remain designed to encourage speed, a leading contributor to fatal crashes through wide lanes, long sight lines, large intersections, and wide crossings that communicate to drivers that higher speeds are appropriate. Then we are surprised when they drive accordingly. We are not simply asking for a lower number on a sign. We are asking for this stretch of Grand River to be designed so that 25 miles per hour feels natural through this area by implementing pedestrian bump outs, additional signage, radar speed feedback signs, speed cameras, etc. The consequences of not doing so are not theoretical. In the last 8 months, there have been 4 serious crashes on Saginaw Avenue and Grand River, both state-controlled trunk lines in East Lansing. On July 7th, a motorist was struck by a vehicle and seriously injured. Just 2 days later, on July 9th, an elderly pedestrian was struck by a cement truck and seriously injured. Last November, a pedestrian was killed less than a block away from the Kensington and Grand River crosswalk. On June 3rd, just before our school dismissal, a fatal crash occurred directly in front of our school. Police and our horrified principal had to escort students away from the scene so that they would quite literally not have to walk over a body on their route home. This is not acceptable. If a fatal crash directly in front of an elementary school is not enough to justify re-examining how we design roads around schools, then I really have to ask what is. I am asking this commission to reclaim its role in speed setting policy and ensure that safety, not existing driver behavior, is the primary concern in those decisions. I am also asking that the commission to advocate for a safer school crossing at Kensington and Grand River. Lower speed limits and safer road design should be readily available tools for protecting communities, not hard-won exceptions. We seem willing to accept hours of disruption after a crash for the fatal crash investigations to occur, but unwilling to accept
thank you for
seconds
your
of delay
comment.
to prevent one.
We appreciate
Our
that.
children deserve roads designed to get them home safely, not roads that are designed to get drivers there slightly faster.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Greg Johnson.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Director, members of the commission. I'm here to speak on a very unique situation that has happened to some folks. As many of you know, I've been in this industry for 44 years, most of it overseeing construction projects, 26 of those for Michigan DOT. What has happened to Atsalis Brothers at the Blue Water Bridge Plaza is something that is so unique that they involve me to make the case for them. This is a project that had incorrect, imprecise language in the pre-bid document. The question was asked and they were told to bid it as they saw it. Later, when the issue was finally coming to a head, they submitted a claim package, at which time MDOT took the unprecedented step of ending that contract for convenience. I've been in this industry once again for 44 years. I can count on one hand the number of projects that have been ended for owners' convenience. They were never given a chance to go through the administrative process to have their claim heard before the department. So my ask of this body is to look at the circumstances around this and make sure that these gentlemen are treated fairly. This is a company that I've dealt with mostly all my career. They are a great bunch of painters. It's a Michigan-based company that employs union folks who pay union wages. This is an important company, and they're being treated, I think, unfairly in this set of circumstances. And it's so unique. It is in the court system. It's been there for 6 years and had 4 different judges because there was never an administrative record set at the department. So what we're asking is take a look at this and do the right thing. I see integrity up on the wall. That is important. These guys are in danger of losing their company because of this issue. So my ask is just not to say we're going to pay you money, but to look at this and let it go through the MDOT processes according to MDOT policies. So thank you.
Thank you.
I may have unplugged something.
Okay, last public comment card, unless there are any more, we have George at Salis.
Good afternoon, Mr. Councilman and the commission panel. I just want to thank you for the opportunity for me to be here today. This is actually a claim that's been going on for 7 years. July 23rd was the anniversary date. We've been nothing but working with the department to overcome all these steps and what they wanted to be done on this bridge structure. They had special provisions that were specific. They wanted something that we did not intend to do to blast clean and paint the entire structure. The special provision was to just do bare and rusted areas. We helped them along. We gave them a price in November of 2019 to give them help to do this work. They had a GMC contract that was nearly double the amount of what the cost of our price was in that time period. We had we were promised to be paid underneath 108.2 and 103.2F of the special of the 2012 spec. This is 7 years going on. The adjustment, we were not even to be able to be paid for the amount of work that we actually performed. They canceled the contract in 2019, 2020, but we performed 16% more work that we'd never got paid for. It's just ongoing. The amount of money that they offered us did not even pay for the amount of work that we had performed that we did not get paid for. The pay items are not the pay items that we had in the contract. Are not the work that they wanted done. So from bare and rusted to a complete blast clean was what they forced us to do, and that's why the claim came about. Thank you. This is a family-run business. We've done ironic structures, Blue Water Bridge number 1, Mackinac Bridge, Houghton Hancock. We've done various bridges throughout the country. We're here for so many years, for 40 plus years in Michigan. We worked in 13 different states. We've worked on several highway structures, and it's just not right what is happening. They canceled the convenience.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate your report.
Seeing no others, that concludes the public comment portion.
Okay. If there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned.